Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the town of Greenwich being held virtually. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, and we have three postponements this afternoon. The first one is Cherry Valley RD6 LLC for a final site plan and special permit at 91 Cherry Valley. The second one is 100 Clabbered Bridge Road LLC, also for a final site plan and special permit at 100 Clabbered Ridge Road. And the last one is Old Track Properties LLC for a final site plan and special permit at 16 Old Track Road. Those are the three postponements. All of our commissioners are with us tonight. Ms. Jenkins will be recusing from one of our applications later, but she will not be seated in any event. And with that, we can start with the first application, which is the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocesan Corporation with a request to extend their Mylar for an additional 90 days for a final subdivision on a 51.375 acre lot at 35 Parsonage Road in the RA1. And the applicant is?
It was Mr. Haslam, but I believe he is indisposed, so I don't know who else is representing them. There
Len DeAndrea.
There we go.
All righty. Now, the last time I thought it was Len DeAndrea, and it turned out to be his brother.
Well, don't express your disappointment if it is Tony.
Hello, Lenny. Hello, Mr. DeAndrea.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll make it short and sweet. We are working out some language for the subdivision map with the law department that has to do with some sightline issues and some other things that we had discussed at the subdivision level. And we're getting close. We actually did a little bit more field work to help resolve all this. So that is why we're asking for the extension.
All righty. Are there any questions from the commission on this application?
No questions.
Seeing no questions from the commission, are there any comments from the public? Again, this is the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese with a subdivision at 35 Parsonage Road, and they are requesting an extension to file their Mylar. Any comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public, does the commission have any concern with closing this application at this time?
No.
Hearing no concern, this application is hereby closed, and we would entertain a motion.
Okay. This is 35 Parsonage Road. I think I've got the right number. PLPZ 2024-269. I think I may have that one wrong, but applicant is requesting a 90-day extension to record the required subdivision map per section 6279 of the subdivision regulations. Therefore, a motion to approve the requested extension, noting the following. All conditions of the original 1725 approval shall be continued, and the additional extension of time to record the map will expire on 7/28/25.
That's PLPZ 2024-00368. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Mr. Lowe has seconded. Mr. Yeski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
Mr. McRae?
Aye.
Mr. Wells?
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0, and we go to our next application, Connecticut Land Holdings Inc. Bye-bye, Mr. DeAndrea, short and sweet. Hold on, I'm just bringing in Mr. Hagney. All right. Okay, our next application is Connecticut Land Holdings LLC for a final subdivision for a proposed subdivision of one parcel into 3 parcels on an 8.17 acre property located at 106 Glenville Road in the RA1. Mr. Hagney, if you would proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. This is an 8+ acre parcel on Glenville Road. It's in the 1 acre zone. We are only proposing 3 lots as part of this. and retaining the existing house and tennis court on one parcel. The property could support easily 5 lots, and we're just going with 3. So we started with the Wetland Agency back in May of last year. We filed an application with them. It was heard in June and July. Our neighbor to the west expressed some concerns. We, at that point, started discussions with them. Mario Capola, who was going to try to make this call this afternoon, if it could fit in with the schedule, was representing the neighbor to the west. We ran out of time with the Wetland Agency, so we had to withdraw and refile back in the fall last year. As part of refiling, Mr. Capola filed a petition to intervene based on environmental concerns. And we continued our discussions. Wetlands ultimately did approve the plan, and which prompted Mr. Capola to draft an appeal, which he forwarded to us. We continued our discussions with him and arrived at an agreement, which was recorded at the end of last year to avoid the need for an appeal of the Wetland Agency approval. And that agreement was ultimately recorded on the land records to memorialize what we had done. It was something that we worked on diligently and in good faith, that we could address the neighbors' concerns and provide for the wetlands protection as well. So this is the strip along the west side of the property that provides a buffer, both not only to the neighbor, but more importantly, to the wetlands, which is the wetlands concern, which are over on that side. The property itself does not have wetlands on it. This is an off-site wetland that we're looking to provide a protection to. Since I don't see that he has arrived,
Mario
Mr. Capola is
in
a.
is in the
Mr.
meeting.
Capola
he?
just got here. Yeah, he's here.
Ah, okay. I would describe him as a worthy adversary and one who works diligently for his clients. And I appreciate him being able to join and describe what we went through on that, because that was one of the things that seemed to be a significant issue that was discussed at the briefing yesterday. And I know his time is very short. If we could just have him address the commission at this point.
Good afternoon, everyone. I confer with everything that that Attorney Hegney described is our process to resolve my client's concerns with regard to the proposed project. And by the way, for the record, Mario Capola over at Birch and Moses, and I'm speaking on behalf of my client, the abutting neighbor, Sheila Kaufman. You may see some folks walking by. I'm actually just visiting somebody at the hospital. So I got short notice for this request an hour or two ago. And when Attorney Hegney asked me to do something, I always try to make sure I do it. So anyways, what he described is accurate. We worked together for probably 6 to 9 months in trying to figure out how we could resolve my client's concerns in a way that still allowed for the applicant to move forward with the project as planned. And I think we took a real thoughtful approach in doing so and came up with with some modifications of the plan, which include the berm and everybody. And we felt also would be beneficial for, quite frankly, for the town, and we anticipated would be approved by the town's boards and commissions. So, I think this was an example of the type of resolution that, applicants and property and neighbors should try to reach. And we certainly did so here. So, again, we were asked here on short notice to verify application. Ms. Kaufman is also here, I believe, in attendance if you need to speak with her as well. But certainly we are supportive of the application, and particularly supportive of the berm and the proposed landscaping, which we all spent a lot of time in developing.
Thank you, sir. As long as we're at a pause, Mr. McRae has his hand up, and since both of you have spoken, perhaps, and then Mr. Wells. So Mr. McRae, if you'd go ahead, followed by Mr. Wells.
Mr. Hegney, just so I'm very clear to understand what's in front of us this evening. It's a 3-lot subdivision with
Correct.
15% open space that's split into 2 parcels, Y and X.
Correct.
Okay. Is the berm and landscape in front of us tonight?
Yes, that's, we submitted our landscape plan as part of the material we provided to staff. And it is definitely a part of this plan, and that's what we agreed to with Mr. Capola and his client, that we would include what we had submitted and gotten approved by wetlands as part of this application.
And the open space is parcel Y is 25 feet wide by 400 feet, 442 feet long. That's what I'm reading off the map.
If that's what the map shows, that's what it is.
Okay.
Mr. McRae, do you want to follow up on that at this time, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, because I'm finding that I have open space that's significant at the front, and I find that I have unusable open space that's not connected to anything else on the back. That is more of a screening buffer than actual open space or any kind of an environmental usable space. It's just a buffer to plant trees for a screening hedge. I think we've seen this before a number of times, and I'm a little uncomfortable with that. Also grading in an open space to create a berm before it's open space. I always found that actually open space probably should be some area that is left in a natural state, as opposed to have been redeveloped and then set aside.
So a couple of things. One is it does provide a buffer to the wetlands, which are immediately to the west.
But the wetlands are not on the property, correct?
Hold on just a second. Patrick or Tracy, could you throw up the map so as we talk about area Y and the location of the wetlands, everybody can follow it? Okay,
Slide
go ahead,
4?
Mr.
Yeah, there you
McRae.
go.
So slide 3 or 4 is good. I think 3 actually shows the designations of the parcels.
There you go.
So
could you zoom-
Y
yeah,
on the left,
yeah.
X on the right, and then the 3 lots in the middle.
And then
the
could you
wetland.
just point out where the wetlands are from which this space is?
Yes, if we go to slide 4, actually, that shows the dashed line, which is on the left, and it shows the 100-foot buffer
So
or
Mr.
review
McRae's-
area.
to Mr. McRae's question, your buffer is only in the upper corner. Your upland review area is only in the upper left corner of this map we're looking at. And yet
It's about
the,
half, yes.
it's the first line and it's at the upper corner in the review area as the demarcation. But the question then is, so the bottom half that continues in this rectangular form that Mr. McRae is asking you about, that is serving as open space?
Correct.
Mr.
The 2
McRae, if you
shaded
would go
areas
ahead.
on this map are open
Mhm.
space.
Mr. McRae?
So we have new plantings as expected behind the proposed house that's on that parcel. I guess that's parcel B, correct?
Correct. That's B.
Okay, so that would be, expected. And then behind parcel C, parcel A, the new one.
Parcel A, yes. Parcel A is
That's
the one
okay.
above.
That is actually to be bermed up and planted with arborvitae, etc. That's the plan as part of this, is to create a berm and then put it as open space.
That is part of the a portion of the open space planting, which includes more evergreens, but it's not just arborvitae. We do have spruces as part of that as well.
Okay. So, Mr. Hegney, why is that open space? Why is that
And those
not
were
part of the lots?
Norwegians. Those are Norwegians, as I remember from the comment of conservation. Go ahead, Mr. McRae, sorry.
Why is that dedicated as
Norway.
open space as opposed to not part of the lot, and make the open space at the front of the building, front of the lot, larger and more contiguous, as a more contiguous piece of property?
So we need to maintain 125 feet of frontage and then access ways to the two rear lots, A and B. Lot C needs to have the 125 feet of frontage. And what we're looking to do is to maintain the streetscape and the heavily wooded area along the Glenville Road portion of the property and extending south. And those are heavily wooded areas that we're looking to preserve, also along the streetscape of Glenville Road. There are trees, particularly near the wetlands, that we're looking to preserve. The trees to the southern part of that open space on the west side or left side of this map are not in a good condition. We have an arborist report that we could submit to you. And those are the ones that we would be looking to replace with the evergreen plantings.
Okay, so that little gap between at Glenville Road, the gap between the access for Lot A and the open space, that's your minimum frontage dimension?
Correct. That's our frontage for
Okay.
Lot C,
And you
which
could
is
not,
that property we're retaining.
the area of the 25 by 440 feet, you could not add to the interior of that open space lot?
Well, we want to retain the tennis court along there, which is part of parcel C. And we have additional it's formal gardens that are that rectangle along the yes, that's formal gardens, and then also to above that on the other side of the house, right there. Yeah. We're
Okay.
looking to retain those.
So, Mr. McRae, are you as I remember from the conservation comments, I think you're making the point that's raised in there that this looks more like an screening zone, a manicured screening zone, which has been planted with plants used for screening as opposed to being left in its natural state?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think we're usually accustomed having an open space that's left in its natural state because of a specific, as Mr. Hegney just said, natural buffer, mature trees, a severe slope, wetland area, something that really shouldn't be disturbed, or actually provides a real natural benefit. I think having in my opinion on this, a manufactured open space
So with
really is kind of contrary to that thought.
So what you would echo what conservation's comments are, that to change the open space into a more functional and ecologically valuable configuration to better align with key principles of open space planning.
Yeah, what they said. I think that works. Because
Okay.
as I'm seeing this, why is that open space as opposed to just the backside of those two new lots?
Does anybody have any comments on that? I know
My
Mr.
hand
Mr.
raised,
Wells,
if
you
that's
got
all
your
right.
hand raised. Go right ahead.
And I also have
you.
my hand raised when he's
Okay,
done.
so
Yeah.
I
when
was
he's
on
done.
Mr. McRae's individual point, but we'll come back to it. Mr. Wells, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my question, if Mr. Capola is still on the line, and that is, in terms of your settlement, was it a requirement of the settlement that this strip the open space, or was it simply an agreement to have the berm and the landscaping? Yes, that's my question. Like, where is the open space coming from? Is it
Yeah,
the neighbor?
I
Is
could
it-
answer that for you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Wells, our agreement was pertains to the plantings. Our agreement did not include any requirements for designating where open space would be located.
Okay, thank you. So next question to Mr. Hagney. Did wetlands require open space?
Not their
Oh,
job.
wetlands requires a buffer. It doesn't
I'm-
necessarily require open space.
There you go.
Okay, so no one's requiring it, so it's,
So we
in
require
your-
open space,
yeah.
no more
Yeah,
than
you-
15%,
Up
but
to,
we,
yes.
up to no more than 15%, but what I believe Mr. Wells, let me just hear from Mr. Lowe first, and then I'll recap. Go ahead, Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, just to add to what Mr. McRae was saying and Mr. Wells, it is also a highly disturbed open space there on that western portion with this man-made berm, right? This was a creation. This wasn't a natural hillock or mound that was there. And I would also, I don't understand why not extend that front open space just to, as we're looking at the screen, down by just to the right of the tennis court. Looks like eyeballing it, you've got some 50 feet. If the one to the west is 25 feet, it looks like you've got twice that amount of strip there, extending it northeast, if you will, up along that line, demarking the front open space. So I don't know that I'm the right person to be designing this, but
Right. And we don't have to design it. I think you're
yeah,
right. But
right. But I'm just saying it seems to me that there are other options, and not having this, just having this entirely disparate, narrow strip way out in left field and serving multiple purposes and not really focused on the principles of open space, it is not in line with what we ought to be looking for.
okay, thank you. Mr. LaRoe, then Ms. Jenkins. And Mr. DeAndrea, you would follow that if there's a person in the public with their hand up named Vampire. I don't know if that's a member of your team, Mr. Hegney. I would be very reluctant.
Madam Chairwoman, that's actually an email address for my client, who's very lovely, Sheila Kaufman. I could understand
Okay.
with concerns about Zoom bombing
Yes.
in
All right.
recent months, but I could
Okay, so
could
we
confirm for
will-
you that is
Okay,
that
so we
is in
will.
fact her email address. And I think she just
we
wanted
will-
to
she
make
wants to
herself
add some-
available in case you
I
or
got
just
it.
make herself
Okay.
available in case you had questions. But
Okay, great. So we're gonna let Mr. LaRoe, then Ms. Jenkins, and then Tony DeAndrea. Go ahead, Mr. LaRoe.
Yeah. So I was just going to get to the point I think others were making is that if the labeling of open space is problematic, certainly the commission can, under their subdivision authority, create a no build area or a protected tree area or required trees. And so if that is an alternative that's available, if it's the
But
designation.
I believe, Mr. LaRoe, that the issue that Mr. Macri, Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Wells are referring to is that the Conservation Commission in its 415 comments expressed that the proposed removal of trees, grading of the open space, and its adjacent wooded buffer is not consistent with the intentions of the creation of open space. And that's in addition to what I had read previously. So the bottom line is I'm hearing more that what is being labeled as open space is not the intent and purpose of a conservation of land in its natural state at all. And that's the concern of the commission. Ms. Jenkins, go ahead.
Yes, I think to further that point, Madam Chair, the declaration of restrictions for the open space also seems to reserve the right to maintain, prune, and replace trees, shrubs, and plantings. Again, this is not a landscaped area. It is supposed to be open and wild and retaining some of the character that's trying to be protected as open space. So I'm just a little concerned that with all due respect to meeting the needs of the neighbor and the IWWA, the open space requirements are that it not be disturbed except to the extent necessary to maintain its wild character. And maintaining, pruning shrubs and plantings, it begins to sound like a lawn. So I'm a little concerned that, again, to add to my fellow commissioners here, it doesn't feel like an open space. It feels like a very attractive feature of a property.
Okay, Mr. DeAndrea, floor is yours. There he is.
Leo here. So good afternoon. Thank you. I wanted to make a couple of comments just to help the commission understand how we develop the lot configuration. There are a lot of steps that go into it and a lot of considerations. We start with the idea of the need to comply with the zoning criteria. And Mr. Hegney pointed out how we came to that frontage requirement along Glenville Road. We wanted to include the driveway within the access way to one of the lots because under 6-131, we must have the driveway within the access way. We didn't want to destroy the existing driveway. It's been there for a long time and it's very functional. So that's the way the frontage was established along Glenville Road. Having done that with the 125 feet of frontage for parcel with the main house on it, we then looked at the topography to see where we should define the open space along Glenville Road and then along what we'll call the south side or we'll call it the south side for this discussion, or east, whatever way you want. So let's call it the east. And that strip is set up because if you try to move the western open space strip to be parallel to the long leg of 360 feet, it would have to be more than 30 feet wide to have the same area. That would encroach upon the edge of the tennis court, and it would also restrict and eliminate a great deal of recreational area for the main house. And to the credit of the applicant, we're trying to preserve that house and the court and maintain the property in the way it's been used for so long. So if you look at the development plan, you'll see how the open space follows the top of the ridge. We also had to consider drainage. So in the area of what's shown as the garden right now, we found that to be good soil that we could use for part of our drainage plan. And we have shown that on our development plan. The open space on the western or southern side, if you will, was set up initially as part of the open space program. It was not intended to be a berm, but at the very outset of this development study and planning, we advised the owner applicant to retain an arborist because it was evident that there was a lot of distressed trees on the property, some dead, and we wanted to make sure that we addressed this because we knew it would come up. As time went on and we had opposition of the development, Mr. Attorney Capolo and Hegney recognized that we could solve some other problems. So using the open space as a conservation tool, we were able to address the following. We could replant with the appropriate vegetation, eliminate the dead trees, and also address the problem of runoff from the adjacent property that Mr. Capolo represents. So what we've done, as you can see, we've maintained the same flow path. We've intercepted the water. We're going to bring it onto our property, treat it, detain it, and follow the town drainage manual. As a benefit with this berming, everybody makes out. Mr. Capolo's client gets the screening that she wishes. Our client gets appropriate vegetation, trees, and planting. And by adding those trees and planting, we are adding to the conservation value of the open space. And therefore, the conclusion we made is this is a good thing. It serves all kinds of purposes, and it's appropriately located, serves as a buffer. It serves as a dense planting area, which has habitat, and also accommodate some aspects of the drainage plan.
So Mr. DeAndrea, what I'm hearing the commission saying to you is that, and I heard you say it as well, that these open spaces were selected, the commission thought they seemed to be selected after prioritizing all the other issues you've mentioned, and the priority was not for them to serve an ecologically valuable purpose. And so I'm sorry, Mr. DeAndrea, if you would
Yeah.
let me finish.
Yes.
And that's what the commission's saying to you and what the Conservation Commission's comments. This also, yes, you're planting both the conservation comments. Again, the Norway spruce is a non-native. Mixed feelings about that. It's not an invasive, but conservation doesn't like it. Again, also, they have not historically liked the Thuja arborvitae. So you have planted with non-native, which is not, again, ecologically valuable. So the open space is being treated as the lowest priority in terms of its function in the POCD, in our zoning, in our subdivision regulations. And I believe that is what Mr. McRae, Mr. Lowe, Mr. Wells, and Ms. Jenkins have just said to you as well.
Right. And I
Both
heard
of
that.
you. And I know
Yes.
you heard it and you said, but it's so great because we can do good drainage and we can do a good layout for the site and it works really well all around. And our answer to you appears to be, yes, that's nice, but you didn't do such a great job with the open space because it really just looks like a planting buffer, to quote Mr. McRae.
So I appreciate the comments and understand the origin of them. However, I would say that we have used open space for other purposes. We have found open space parcels
Yes,
that
sir.
needed attention, and we have given them attention. In this case, I believe that's also applicable. If you had seen it, or if you see it now, you'll realize that it is distressed in its existing condition, and we can only enhance it through planting, which was an objective of the owner from the beginning. I don't think
Right.
it's a problem to consider that we can use the open space for a variety of reasons, plant better material for the habitat, and also get the screening available. If you want to change one of the plants, we hired one of the highest regarded landscape architects in the vicinity, in the area, to advise us on that. So we will question Janice again and see what else they can do to
So,
improve on it.
Mr. DeAndrea, what I'm gonna let, Mr. Wells, I'm gonna let you go ahead in a second. Mr. DeAndrea, what I'm hearing from the commission is that they don't see this as a restoration of open space. That would be fine. In addition, we have not criticized the fact that you're to some extent using it for drainage purposes, because beginning with the Anderson, what was Swan Court subdivision way back when, I think that was the first time we allowed drainage infrastructure in an open space. We're being silent on that. But I believe you are hearing from every member of the commission who has spoken that this open space layout should be revised and you should return to us with a revised open space plan. Mr. Wells, if you would go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to comment on the tennis court. You've now got a 50 feet space, according to Mr. Lowe. And if you moved open space there, you'd give up 30 of that, leaving you 20. I would say 20 feet around a tennis court is more than enough, unless you've got a grass tennis court with no fences, but you've got fences. So the balls are going to stay within it. You could have a 5-foot buffer around the tennis court and be perfectly able to play tennis quite well. This way you've got 20 feet. So I'm quite familiar with tennis courts, and not in my experience do you need a 50-foot buffer in order to enjoy them. I also think it's kind of a little bit dead space down there. I don't know why anyone would go down there when they've got all that space up, closer to Glenville Road and the driveway. That's much more open for you. So I just don't see the big benefit of having a 50-foot corridor around the tennis court. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I correct the record just for a moment so we all know?
Of
The-
course, Mr. DeAndrea.
Thank you very much. The tennis court setback to the existing proposal for open space is 36.3 feet. The minimum side yard in the accessory structure in the 1 acre zone would be 15. So there's a strip of about 20 feet wide, which won't make up the entire area. Frequently, in other conditions, the commission has recognized acceptably to incorporate some conservation easement, which could be applied or considered along Glenville Road as an easement. We cannot make it in fee for open space because we need the frontage for that lot. And that's at the bare
Mr.
minimum,
DeAndrea?
125 feet.
Mr. DeAndrea, Mr. Lowe was very wise when he said to you, ours is not to redesign this for you. We are just not seeing this. We concur. I'm hearing everybody concur with the Conservation Commission comments that this does not serve the function of open space. Now, to Mr. LaRoe's point, if they want to have screening and they want to set aside a strip that could be labeled landscaped screening area, be our guests. If that's part of the settlement, if Ms. Kaufman and the neighbors want to do that, that's a great idea. You figure it out. We have no objection to it, but we would like to see, I think Mr. McRae, because he got to say it first, said it succinctly, not seeing this as serving the purposes of open space. It's just not, you're not creating a natural habitat. And you're not creating a natural habitat. I said it twice. Okay, so that's I think only one person on a couple, Ann Knoll and Mr. Yeski. Do you have any comment on this?
I just would, I mean, I agree with the other commissioners regarding the things
Right.
that they've said. Thank you.
Okay, so then, and I'm assuming Mr. Yeski as well.
It's been said 5 times. I don't
Okay,
want
there we go. So we've all said it. Now, in addition, y'all have to go work on, you've got both sewer and DPW engineering have requested a resubmit. So you have to go back and do those. And while you're doing that, we would be very appreciative if you would reconsider the configuration of your open space
Yeah.
and how it's planted. Go ahead,
Madam Chair,
Mr.
if I
Hegney,
could
you're dying
address,
to interrupt. Go ahead.
well, I didn't want to, so I was just waiting for you
Trying
to
not
finish.
to. Okay, go ahead, sir.
With the DPW comments, I did submit a letter to staff regarding their comments. One was the wall along Glenville Road, which is, I would guess, 100 years old and adds to the beauty of the streetscape along that portion of Glenville. And frankly, it's along the property line, so it doesn't affect any town use. And I think it would be a shame to have to remove that.
Yes,
We
agree with you.
It seems to be a bent of public
agree
works
with-
these days
we
with
agree with you.
walls in the
We
right
agree
of way.
with you. Yes, we
Thank
agree
you.
with you. And we commented yesterday at the briefing. We asked about the wall. It seems to be an old wall. I think we can ask our staff to follow up that we'd like to keep it. I know DPW wants to have its right of way clear. And the reason is it's a legal one. Apparently, from what Mr. LaRoe told us yesterday, once they have signed off on something being in the right of way, they've apparently created a liability. So if there's a way around that, that would be great because we would love to see the stone wall kept.
All right, thank you. And the other items that were brought up, and this is sort of a chronic issue with the engineering department, is that they want to see legal documents and sign off on them that really are not the issue of the town, or particularly not with the engineering department, that are as part of when you develop and sell off the lots, you need to have cross easements so that the various utilities, drainage, and right of ways can be shared. And that is something that we do as part of selling off the lots. Is it necessary now for the town engineer to review
Well,
that? I would say no.
We did have a case. Patrick's going to remind me of the application. Lucas Point. Patrick? Was it Lucas?
Remind me of the scenario. Maybe that'll
It
help.
was an easement that had not been granted by the property owner. It had never been drafted, it had never been agreed to. We went tooling ahead and suddenly it turned out that there was no way that you could do the site plan. And maybe that's what DPW is thinking about, because that turned into a major long-term settlement and negotiation. Lucas
This
Point,
is all-
where, I'm not sure that's right. No,
There
Rocky Point,
was a
Rocky Point.
that paper road that was with.
No, that's Byram. That's Bryan Road.
No,
This
no,
was-
I'm thinking about Old Greenwich, but anyway, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, Old Greenwich. Look, it was Rocky Point. But in any
Yeah, thi-
event, Mr. Hegney, if
This is all
DP
owned by one
yeah,
person
if
at this point, or one entity.
okay, but if DPW is asking you for it and they are refusing to give us a sign off, we are in a bad situation unless Patrick can dissuade them.
And I don't want to encourage that kind of
Mhm.
approach because
Right.
I don't think it's appropriate. I have another conversation with the town law department on that as we do on other things like this. There are a couple of things I wanted to say about the open space parcel, and Mr. DeAndrea described how the site was overall developed. There is nothing wrong with having more than one open space parcel. In fact,
No, that's
the-
not what we said
our-
to
the-
you.
the
We didn't
subdivision
complain
regula-
about 2 spaces,
Madam
what we
Chair.
told you. I know, but you're twisting my words.
well, if I could just finish my thought.
Go ahead.
The subdivision regulations talk about parks and playgrounds. That's the language in our subdivision regulations. There's nothing that says you can't have them as separate parcels and that you can't have them in a particular configuration. And as Tony said, we hired a very reputable and experienced landscape architect, as did our neighbor hire a very experienced and reputable landscape architect, and the wetland staff reviewed this. So we don't see this as something that is degrading the open space parcel. We see this as something that is enhancing the wetland, the open space parcel and the buffer along the wetlands. This is not a special permit that we're discussing here. This is subdivision. And I know the commission likes to hear some case law on occasion. I just have a couple of quotes to provide to you on this. One is from a case from 1990, Sowen Associates versus Planning and Zoning Commission. It's a Connecticut App 23-370. Says when a municipal planning commission considers the approval or disapproval of a subdivision plan, it is acting in an administrative capacity rather than in a legislative capacity. And
We know
in
that.
Reed versus Planning and Zoning Commission,
we are aware of
it's a
that, Mr.
Supreme
Hegney.
Court case is 208 Connecticut 431. It says the Planning Commission acting in its administrative capacity herein has no discretion or choice but to approve a subdivision if it conforms to the regulations adopted for its guidance. And the regulations you have are that this is in the 1 acre zone, so we have to have at least an acre. We have to either have an access way or we have to have frontage, and we have to meet the lot shapes, which are also shown on the map that's on the screen now. Beyond that, the rest of it is not as discretionary as it would be if you were looking at a special permit. And I think the plan that we have submitted to you and that we have here as part of the presentation is certainly within the regulations and is appropriate for approval.
All right, so let's
So
go to secure the.
having said that, we will look to see if there is another way we can reconfigure the lot lines in terms of the open space. But I think as this plan is before you now, it is approvable.
So, Mr. Hegney, first of all, we didn't really focus that much on you having split the open space in two. We know it's allowed. The point that the Conservation Commission raised in its comments to us were that that they didn't see the ecological benefit because of this separation. That is your take. Yes, you're absolutely right. You can have two pieces of open space. Second, if you go back and you look at the subdivision regulations, it does refer to preserving, scrolling back to the very beginning of the purposes where it says, secure the preservation of natural features of the landscape and the setting aside of open space for recreational needs of future residents. It does not say turn it into a screening buffer zone. So it's just a question of interpretation. And as such, as we are not acting in our legislative capacity, because in that case, we would be legislating. In our administrative capacity, we're reviewing an application. I'm not seeing that you're meeting the intent and the wording of our regulations regarding open space. Mr. Lowe.
I'm just going to say that this seems to be, and it strikes this commission to be outside the spirit, if not, and perhaps the letter as well, of the purpose of open space and its designation. And that's why we're also uncomfortable with it.
Looking at it from an administrative standpoint, it's not the spirit, it's do you meet the specific requirements of the zoning regulations to adopt a subdivision plan?
Well,
And
they're
I
actually our
submit to you that this
subdivision.
does.
It's our subdivision regulations, not only our zoning regulations. And I'm sitting here looking at our subdivision regulations. You're referring back to our zoning regulations. Also, by the way, not all your trees are correctly, from what I remember, you need to look at the tree demarcation because the trees aren't all consistent with the subdivision regulations as well. That's a minor point. But if you go to the natural features of the site should be preserved to the fullest extent, and the felling of trees should be held to a minimum. The developer, this is where you're missing some of the compliance. The developer shall leave not less than 2 naturally growing trees with trunk diameter, etc. And then up in the top, it talks about, it says the commission shall require, and further down, the commission shall require that land, open space, or easements be reserved for park and playground or open space. So the park and playground thing is not the only thing it says, Mr. Hagney. It talks
True.
about open space. Yes, the selective part.
But we are
and-
leaving many trees on this site,
Yes,
particularly
but
trees
yes, I
along
realize you're
Glenville
leaving
Road
20.
and along the westerly
Yes.
portion of the property as well. And
Yes,
the trees
but
that we're removing are
Yes.
not in good shape, and we're providing
I'm
a
aware
better
of that.
habitat there.
I'm aware of that, but the part about you shall plant 2 trees, you shall have not less than, in each of the front yards, you have to have the specific 2 trees. It wasn't clear that you were meeting the subdivision regulations in that regard. That's in the staff report as well. So and again, I bring you back to the purposes, which is to preserve the natural landscape, as well as to protect the water courses. We definitely don't want to override wetlands. We want to respect them. But this looks like, I'm sorry, I don't know another word to use, fake open space. I'm sorry, that's very judgmental term perhaps, but as Mr. McRae as an architect points out, the fact that it's just this rectangle with screening in it and doesn't seem to see. So we've said it, and I would ask you to return with
Well, we have to work out things with the sewer department, so
and
we
engineering.
will certainly then, yes, and engineering.
Okay, so
So
let me just
we will
run-
come back
Mr.
to you.
Mr. Lowe, you still have your hand up. I'm apologizing for that. Okay.
No, that's not your fault. I always forget that perhaps it's a good idea to lower it when I'm finished, and I am
Oh, so I
finished.
usually lower it for you guys, so
I
can
know
try-
that. So
right.
you tricked me.
So,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So on this application, is there anyone from the public who would wish to speak with 106 Glenville? Anybody from the now Ms. Kaufman has her hand up, so I guess she does want to speak. We could take down the subdivision map. I think we've all memorized it at this point. Thank you. Hello, Miss Kaufman. You really scared me with that vampire thing. If you would unmute, ma'am.
I'm doing that.
Okay, perfect. You're unmuted. And Neil, you just remuted. So go back one more time.
You
There you
know
go.
what?
Perfect. There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
gotcha. I just wanted to introduce myself
Hello,
because
ma'am.
I am the adjacent neighbor that everyone has been referring to. And I am very interested in all of these proceedings. It's as a result of my concerns being the adjacent neighbor to what's going to go on over here. And it's all of deep concern to me what the land will be like when this is finished.
Oh, well,
And
that's perfect because that's what we're concerned about too. And we want it to look more the way Greenwich should look,
right.
the
Well,
Greenwich of our younger days.
my grandchildren plan on living in my house.
Oh,
So
good.
I want to make sure that what they're looking at is not a paved cul-de-sac. So I appreciate all of your help and all of your concerns, and I appreciate the job that you do in stewarding our town.
So what we're looking for, ma'am, is when they propose the open space that it's between you and the development, that it be something that's more conducive to birds
Right.
and wildlife and all of that, and that it be one of the things that our Conservation Commission feels very strongly about is that it had native species.
Yes.
The plantings be native species. So I believe that Mr. Hegney and Mr. DeAndrea are clear on all that. They were just
Yes.
trying to thread the needle, and knowing that we would agree with conservation has given them a clearer path, I think, going forward.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to thank you all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next time you have to rename yourself because we are an adjacent town did get Zoom bombed, so we're very nervous. It's a vampire.
One of my sidelines is gaming, and I can't put, old grandmother as my gaming name. So I picked something that was ambiguous and young. I don't know.
I don't know. And they still let the grandchildren stay with you in spite of the dubious reputation.
It's that's a whole nother discussion, ma'am.
Well, hopefully we'll see you when they come back with modified open space, and our staff will work with
Absolutely.
them.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Bye.
Bye. Any other comments on this application at 106 Glenville? All right, so Mr. Hegney, we will be continuing administratively this application.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go to the public hearing. And Mr. Basili, we know your sound is working well. And for the public hearing, our next application is St. Paul Lutheran Church for a final site plan and special permit to create enclosed vestibules in the front and rear of the church, provide handicap accessibility to all floors. And really, those are the changes because of the volume exceeding 150,000 cubes. This is before us. The address is 286 Delavan Avenue in the R6. Mr. Hegney, if you would proceed.
And Jenkins is seated for me, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you. I had forgotten to say that. Good catch, Mr. Wells.
Thank you.
Takes a team. All righty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. This is St. Paul Lutheran Church on Delavan Avenue in Byram. And we had just a few items outstanding when we came to you before. One was to revise the site plan to show the handicap space and the existing parking in the William Street side of the property. We also need to provide the exemption form that was prepared by our site engineer, Soundview, Bob Smarslak, and we provided that. We also redid the landscaping so that we have native plantings in it. And the last thing that you asked about was an egress plan that will be part of the building permit, which Mr. Rydberg has prepared, which shows the how the project will be phased so that all parishioners will have safe access and egress to the sanctuary and the rest of the church building during construction. So I think those are the four outstanding things. We've provided them, and we would ask for your approval.
Does anybody on the commission have comments on this application? No comment. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this application at St. Paul Lutheran Church at 286 Delavan Avenue? Seeing nobody from the public, does anyone object to closing this application at this time?
No.
No.
Hearing no objection, this application is hereby closed, and we move to our next application.
Thank you.
See you later.
No, not
Oh, you're
not
done.
tonight.
Goodbye.
I'm done.
Finished.
All right, and you've got Ms. Orsi. I think I got her in, or maybe you did. Okay. All right, our next application is number 6, 731 Lake Avenue Trust for a final site plan and special permit to construct a pool on a property within the HO zone. On a 3.05 acre, which is 3.05 acres at 731 Lake Avenue. Just to clarify before we go forward, this isn't exactly within the HO zone. It's not a whole zone, just this property is zoned HO, correct?
Yes, correct. It's just the
All right,
property.
so it's fine, but it's not quite right in the agenda. Okay, because it isn't within the historic overlay zone. It's just a property that has been zoned historic overlay. Okay, Ms. Orsi, with that, if you want to pick up where we left off.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Rachel Orsi from SE Minor on behalf of the applicant for 731 Lake Avenue. Here with me today is also Robert Flood, project engineer. I believe he should be in the audience if he can be promoted to speak as well. We listened into yesterday's briefing, and if Tracy and or Pat would mind bringing up the presentation materials, hopefully we can address everybody's questions and or comments. Thank you very much. So as a reminder, this is Applejack Farm, which was created prior to America's founding. So at the briefing yesterday, if you can go to the next slide, please. We noted there was 3 main questions or comments that were raised. Those were the screening, there's some questions about trees, as well as the proposed construction access. So the next slide, I'll begin with some screening. There is existing screening between the residence and Lake Avenue. Thank you. It consists of mature trees, both of deciduous and evergreens. So there would be screening, or there is currently screening during the colder months as well. And there's also a fence and wall that run along Lake Avenue. This was also a point that was brought up during the variance application, which is something that made the board comfortable because they knew there was existing screening there to help protect the front yard. The next slide is in regard to the trees. There are no proposed removals for this application. I think as the commission noted yesterday during the briefing, the pool is tucked up right against the house. So there are no trees in that vicinity. But as part of the special permit application, we were required to propose a planting plan or landscaping plan, which has been prepared by Environmental Land Solutions by Matt Pop. Which is what you see here. We are proposing to install 8 trees and 22 shrubs. And we decided to choose plantings that were of similar species to what was protected during the original HO approval. And then the For the next point in regard to access, which is on the next slide. We understand there were some questions in regard to the actual logistics regarding the access, which is proposed between the residents and Lake Avenue. And I'm going to turn it over to Robert Flood, who can provide some more information.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Robert Flood, project engineer, SE Minor. So in regards to the construction access that we have shown, we proposed it in conjunction with the contractor who will be doing the work on the site. He is very familiar with the site. As shown on the survey you are looking at here, the construction access will run down the west side of the property and run along between the property line and the west side of the house. The contractor confirmed with us that a mini excavator, or the term that he used was a skid steer, will be used for the construction. So it's a small machine. And the one thing that will be in the way in this area is an existing fence. That fence will be temporarily removed from that area.
And how
Sorry, if
are
we
they
can go to
gonna
the-
do, and the point that Mr. McRae and I were discussing yesterday, how are they going to do the lining for the base of the pool? The gunite?
Yes. So there were two methods that were.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
the equipment for the gunite is not the excavator. That's what Mr. McRae and I were trying to figure out, how big a truck you need for the gunite. I'm assuming it's gunite, whatever they're doing, the pool, you have to lay it in.
Mhm.
And it's usually a poured substance.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we were asking yesterday. How big a truck do you need for the access, given the fact that Mr. McRae was concerned about that? Nick, do you remember asking that? I don't know what happened to Nick. Okay.
I remember it if that. is
Sorry about that.
important.
Yeah,
It was actually trying to, the access off the street, off the driveway, around the side of the house, that kind of thing. Skid steer, yeah, probably could do it. You have to move stuff out of the way. My thought was coming off Lake Avenue, because there's a gap between the guardrail and the fence. But I think it would be more of, if the pool is small, so digging it out, yes, I can understand small machines. I think it's more of the lining of the pool, whether it's masonry, gunite, or if it's vinyl, whatever that is. I would suspect that it's either going to be pumped over the house probably now, because you're coming from the driveway and not off Lake Avenue.
Mhm.
Okay. So the pump
In-
truck would actually come to the front of the house, boom over the top of the house to do the small pool in the back.
yeah, and how big are I was questioning, because having seen them and used them, that I wasn't sure the booms were big enough. So
I know,
just
through-
saying, okay, so just saying, when you do this, I think, Nick, the thing to do is to just condition it and just say, that's
Nothing
all-
on Lake Avenue, so everything's got to come from internal of the site.
There you go.
Okay.
I think we would, if we go back to the site plan, I think the contractor would probably prefer that as well. As you turn off Lake Avenue, it is kind of not a blind turn, but, yeah, right here. So there's really kind of a corner right here. So if we were trying to get any trucks parked on the side of the road, that would be dangerous. So I think they would, they would agree with, having the trucks enter from the internal of the property.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, so go ahead.
I think those were the main points that we heard raised at the briefing yesterday. And with that, if there are any other questions or comments, we'd be happy to answer. But if not, we would request final site plan and special permit approval.
Okay, anybody on the commission have questions or comments? Okie dokie. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this application at 731 Lake to add a pool to a property which has been designated as a historic overlay zone? Nope, nothing from the public. Okay, so does anybody object to closing this application at this time?
No.
Seeing no objection, this application is hereby closed. It looks to me like all the regulars were seated on it. All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we go to application number 8. And there's Mr. Tessie. Mr. Tessie. Oh my God, is that banging in your background?
Sorry. Is it loud here?
Mr. Tessie?
Yeah, there is a lot of background noise.
Sounds like a train passing through your living room.
That train that tries to run over me every few minutes. There we go. I made it stop. Just for you.
Okay, good. Okay, our next application is Greenwich Park LLC for zoning text amendment to amend section 6106 and create a new subsection allowing payment in lieu of being required to include below market units in a multifamily developments. Before we go there, Mr. Tessie, and I allow you to speak, Ms. Jenkins, because she is also co-chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, will be recusing. And before she recuses, she is going to read a statement as to the Housing Trust position on this application. Madam Jenkins, if you would go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Greenwich Park LLC proposed zoning text amendment to section 6106 was discussed at the meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust Board on Monday, April 21, 2025. Particular attention was addressed to the payment in lieu provision that would be available under this amendment, even though there is no equivalent provision under section 6110, which sets forth affordability requirements to qualify for incentives when providing residential units in business zones. It was noted that Connecticut State Statute section 8-2I(a)(3) requires that payments in lieu under inclusionary zoning regulations must be made to housing trust funds rather than Greenwich communities as provided in the proposed text amendment. It was the sense of the meeting, after further discussion, that this was a preliminary review of the proposal by the board members, and it appears that the drafting requires further clarification. The central location of the GBO zone is an attractive location for the inclusion of affordable housing units. The use of a 10% allocation does not meet the standards for affordable housing under section 6110 or under assisted housing incentivized construction, which use 20% to 30% of total units developed. Section 110 would call for 9 of the 46 total units to be affordable, whereas the proposal provides only 2. The proposed amount of the fee in lieu, 3 times the median town wage, or $281,811 per affordable unit, would not be adequate to fund the actual cost of constructing units to substitute for units not included in the converted building. This is especially true for residential construction in centrally located areas that offer public transport and other significant conveniences. A fee in lieu payment would require additional delay before it could be translated into actual unit availability compared to renovation of an addition to an existing structure. Given the inadequacy of the size of the fee in lieu payments, the proposal does not appear to be a productive approach to ensuring additional affordable units in return for the significant incentives requested for building size and number of total units in the structure. Based upon all of the foregoing, the Trust Board believes that inclusion of an appropriate number of affordable units is preferable to having a fee in lieu alternative for the GB zone. And that concludes my statement, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jenkins. So you're saying, in addition to the legal order question that the Connecticut statute says that fee in lieu should only go to a trust, and it can't go to a non-governmental entity as proposed. You're also saying, number one, that the amount that is being proposed would be insufficient to provide replacement units, if that's the right word.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there was significant discussion of what it would cost to recreate a unit, an equivalent unit in some other location, particularly a location that's equivalent to this one. Again, GBO is very heavily concentrated along the Post Road, which has public transportation and otherwise offers conveniences that may not apply in more remote areas. So I think the concern was fee in lieu is supposed to be fee in lieu, not a kind of nominal amount, if you will. And it's quite clear that I doubt very much that any developer can actually provide a condominium of any size in the town of Greenwich for $281,000. Certainly not of the quality that we would expect for our affordable tenants.
But then the last point that you make is that you're not even clear that, and pardon me if I'm making the words too strong, that the fee in lieu is consistent with the goals of Greenwich's affordable housing plan as filed in July of 2022.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, the wording again, because this was the first review by the trust board, but it was quite clear that payment in lieu is not really a workable alternative, given the shortfall between a payment and the eventual availability of an affordable unit. And again,
because of the timeline?
Because of the timeline and the cost and the need to find equivalent locations. I think that it can't be denied that starting from scratch and having to acquire a property and build a new structure certainly delays the use of funds in ways that a conversion and reconfiguration of a building does. So the payment in lieu was really seen as being, I hate to say inappropriate, but an inadequate alternative to the inclusion of affordable units in an office conversion.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for her, or she's gone? But I think I asked her, does anybody have
I'll come back to see the answer to the question.
any questions for Ms. Jenkins, or are you good with what is the affordable housing? Well, in addition, Patrick is here, can relay what the trust position was.
I have questions.
Oh, okay, that's great. So do you want me to keep Ms. Jenkins here, or do you want to ask
Well,
Patrick?
no, I don't mean to intrude on you, just ask whether anyone has questions.
Okay, but I'm just saying, you want to make your presentation, you can always ask Patrick about the housing trust position, because he's also on the trust. Do you want to do that after you've presented your proposal?
Well, it's basically.
I'd be happy to answer Mr. Tessie's questions now, if he has questions now.
Mr. Tessie, go for it.
Okay. My questions are, there were a number of comments that you made regarding this proposal, which apparently were not taken up when the trust fund was endorsing the One American Way project at all, first of all.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Tessie, I'm just going to express some discomfort because, as you're well aware, that that particular project is the subject of litigation, and I'm
for
sure
us, we can't have a discussion of One American here.
I was okay.
Okay.
Well, then I'll just make my presentation, because that was taken into account, that project, in our thinking here.
Okay.
But I appreciate.
Okay. All right.
Insofar as, because there are a number of aspects of this which are important. So just to get right into it, because it's out there, the proposal itself and the methodology, there was always a concern on my part personally about that project. In this proposal tries to address some important issues, and I think it's important to get those on the table. This proposed amendment, which, by the way, we discussed conceptually with you in a pre-application last year. And one of the points made strongly at that time was you did not want to have us basically come up with a plan of reuse, adaptive reuse of office buildings under the provisions of section 6110. that you'd like to see an independent regulation on that subject.
Mhm.
Yet in the staff report and commentary yesterday, I must have heard section 6110 dozens of times.
And the reason for that, if I could just
Yeah.
interrupt you because you took a breath, the reason for that, what Mr. LaRose said when he talked about his staff report, and I'm going to turn this over to him for comment, is that you were referencing 6110 as well. Patrick, go ahead, because I think it's better for you to speak for yourself as the expert.
Well, I think when the reading of the proposed language and the execution in the site plan, which is the next application, it seems to me that Mr. Tessie is making use of 6110, or the project is. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's fine. You don't have to mute. There's nothing in the background.
Okay, so sorry, my phone's ringing in the house here.
We can't hear it.
The general gist was that the proposal seems to exceed the regulations of 6106, and the only way I could see that as being a plausible opportunity going forward is if 6110 were being applied, and I don't see the connection between or the crossover between the two in the regulations. It seems that we have a 6106 regulation that's being amended, and then there is a desire to use 6110 without any reference or it seems to crisscross over each other without any discussion in the language. So,
Well, I can appreciate that, Mr.
You
LaRose.
use the terms from 6110.
I use the terms from 6110 that, well, one respect I use them, that has to do with the town median, employee median income. And I do that only in the context to determine the amount of contribution there's proposed to be. The idea was, and I didn't, was to get to a number in that $300,000 range, which for a cost for the unit, and that was based of a 1,200 square foot unit. So I spent time with Mr. Molnar and Mr. Ferrari on what would be, incorporating what would be an appropriate cost to build out that space within a building of about 1,200 square feet. And that's where that came from, it's 284. We can certainly increase the amount, but the important reason why I use that is not so much that it can be increased. I'm sure Mr. Ferrari is not going to have an issue increasing that number into 300,000 or slightly north of it. I don't see that as an issue. What I wanted to make sure, which is what you don't have, and I have to look back to One American Way, is you don't have a mechanism in that regulation that I wanted here that would allow for that number to increase each year. That as the wages go up, there's some method, whether it's CPI, and I thought it was convenient to use town median income, employee median income, because it was a known factor. But it could be CPI, some formula where this regulation is not going to be static or stuck at that number, but it would increase over the years. Now, there was number one. Number two is I thought it was important that the town of Greenwich entity that receives the funds, we'll talk about that in a bit, gets that money right away. That you have to pay that at the point in time when before you can seek a zoning permit or a building permit, so that money could be put to use. Now, I believe that the party that could put those funds to use in the most productive way, in the most expedient way, was clearly the Greenwich Communities. Now, Greenwich Communities to me is in all practical sense, and I think a legal sense, a trust fund.
No, it's not, sir. It is
No,
created
let me finish, please.
Mr. Tessie, it is created under a different state act, and it is not created as a trust fund. And the state statute is very clear. in the language. And we've checked this, so I would not explore that as a possibility. It is
As
a
I
different
wrote-
state act for housing authorities. It is not a trust.
I'm saying, practically speaking, it acts that way. But I
Well,
wrote to Mr. Leroux, well, let me just finish.
Okay.
Today is, again, I believe that that's the proper entity. Hopefully, the trust fund will then act as a conduit in the trust, if this goes through, and there is money actually tendered under this regulation. Greenwich, the trust fund can receive the monies. I just hope, that they take it and give it right to Greenwich communities to be utilized.
But that's
Because
not your
when we talk-
decision. That's not an applicant's decision, Mr.
I didn't
Tessie.
say it was an applicant's decision. I said
Well,
it's an
then
applicant's.
there's no reason for you to go there, Mr. Tessie.
I have every right to go. Excuse me. Now I have every right to go there and say, I hope that they would give it to Greenwich communities, because I believe personally, I'm entitled to believe something personally, that I think they can put it to the best use in the most expedient manner possible. That's my opinion. That's all I'm saying. I'm
Mr.
saying
Leroux?
we're not going to stand on ceremony here. I want to work with you to get an appropriate regulation passed. That's
Mr.
why I'm
Leroux,
addressing
yeah,
these
and
issues, not
by
in
the
a negative
way-
sense, in a positive sense.
Yes, and we agree with you. I agree with you 100% that we would like to see this effort of yours move forward and for us to work together with you on something that could move forward. Mr. Leroux.
No.
I will just speak as the only representative who can from the Housing Trust right now. We would welcome that the Greenwich communities, but there has never been a project that has been presented to the committee. So it's not that the trust in any way, and I don't think you're saying this, Mr. Tessie, but I just want to make it clear for the record that they're not cooperating or not participating with Greenwich communities. It's just that Greenwich communities has not asked for any support from the trust, and therefore none has been given. So if that opportunity comes, I have no doubt that the trust will be very interested in providing real dollars to whatever project the Greenwich communities has.
And just to take you back, Mr. Tessie, to a different life, when you were on our Affordable Housing Task Force, and you then helped us draft the documents for what eventually became the trust, and you were one of the legal team reviewing it. We had long conversations with everyone about this benefit of it being a municipal entity. And I had completely forgotten this whole thing about there was a benefit for fee in lieu, but we knew that, and we also knew that the tax status was better. There were some other things we discovered afterwards. So at the time, we were very conscious that we needed to create a municipal entity. But let's go back to the matter at hand. We want to
Yes.
work with you.
Yes.
We recognize that GOP 8 has been vacant for 3 years, that a conversion seems like a great alternative given market demand. Mr. Wells asked yesterday how much demand there is still. Was it you, Mr. Wells? That was
Well, I was
asking
looking for
about
the vacancy rate for Class A buildings to, get a sense of how,
So
what sort of shape the, office
can-
space is.
I can answer that. First of all, in terms of how the town of Greenwich recognizes Class A buildings, at least the real estate community does. The Class A buildings are basically within central Greenwich, in and around Greenwich Avenue, in the central Greenwich Business District. Insofar as Greenwich, I can tell you this, insofar as Office Park is concerned, there is well north of 100,000 square feet of available office space that's been on the market quite a while. And that was one of the concerns of Mr. Ferrari, who I may be watching, hopefully he is, in coming up with the idea of an adaptive reuse of Building 8. So I wanted to answer that question. I can also tell you, again, speaking to him and actually others, but him meaning Mr. Ferrari, on the issue of market rate unit, need, if you will, that he does have a meaningful waiting list at the J-Lofts. And I know also Greenwich Shore also has a waiting list. Those are the two projects I know because they're clients of mine. But there is that market there that's still desirable. Probably another reason is because housing, the sales market, as we probably all know in Greenwich, is very robust still through everything that's going on. And the prices have gone up, and up, making rental units more palatable, whether it's of choice or of necessity. That spurred on, again, the idea of this adaptive reuse of building number 8.
Thank you.
With regard to the concept and, you know, the concepts within the regulations, that are the regulation that's being proposed. As you all know, we limited it to the GBO zone only. That's the zone for the most part where you have the larger buildings, but it's also, isolated basically to the west side of the Post Road and also all the way up on the eastern part of Post Road towards Stanford. Another beauty of that is what was pointed out actually by Mary, is that that's a corridor where you do have public transportation and relative convenience to the thruway and really the railroad.
Mr. Tessie, if I
yes.
could, Mr. Yeski has a question for you.
Oh, I didn't see. Where is it?
Mr. Tessie, I was just to move the conversation along. Did you
Yeah.
folks look at other options for the use of the vacant building? 830G, a straight up 6110, for example. Just from a simple standpoint, are those options, are there other options you looked at other than the one that you're presenting?
Well, the answer is, let me answer it this way. We can convert, as of right, that building itself the way it is without doing anything, just taking the floor area to residential use.
Right.
There's no need for affordable housing component. It's basically because we don't need any incentives.
Because the rents have increased.
No, nothing to do with rents, Mr. Yeski. The fact is that the way 6110 works, I think Mr. Leroux will agree with this. And if you all recall, when we went and did the mill project, the conversions in the office buildings there,
right?
It's the same thing. There are no affordable housing units in that project because none were needed because the incentives embedded into 6110 were not needed. And if you don't ask for an incentive, there's no obligation to provide affordable housing.
No, I understand. I mean,
Yeah,
the market.
I'm just saying that 6110 doesn't play a role in terms of bringing affordable housing. Now, so what I'm saying here, when we tried to work on this regulation and see what the needs were and the logic was for this building, perhaps others, is do you have space in the building that is not office space now, is not FAR now, but could be converted if it were appropriate to convert it, both in terms of economics and in terms of living area, meeting compliances, fire code, habitability. And this one building is unique, is not necessarily unique for the GB zone, but unique in that we have a first floor office building parking garage. So that garage, if you drive down Valley Drive and look, if you're making like a right off of West Putnam Avenue and look left, you'll see that parking garage as it looks like a floor. It is. So we thought, well, we don't need all that parking for the residential use. So the beauty is we can take that garage space that's not needed and convert it to residential use. Now, when you do that, you'll wind up over the FAR under the current regulations. So what we said is, well, we spoke to the commission about incentives we're, in to the conversion, to help the conversion along, because as noted by you, Madam Chair, Mr. Ferrari had on more than one occasion, it was probably during the affordable housing committee meetings that we had, pointed out that it is not cheap to renovate these buildings. Sometimes they lay out wells. This one lays out pretty well, but the cost of conversion puts you in a position where it's difficult to accomplish. So you wind up stuck between a rock and a hard place, as he is at Office Park, with the amount of office space versus the ability to convert. So again, getting back to the point of incentive, or a nice incentive would be for the conversion and a help to the developer to do it, would be say, yeah, we're not going to, since it doesn't count now, but the bulk is there, you're not adding bulk, take that garage space that's sticking up already and convert it to residential use. So you're not really doing anything other than adding floor area, but you're not going to be increasing traffic by adding a few more units that are there. And you're not in a position here where you have to just let something sit fallow, but rather build it out. So that's where that element came from, where we turned around and said, so it shouldn't count against your floor area max. And there is no affordable units being proposed for that, again, as this incentive. But then that's level 2 of the thing. And then level 3, breaking down the categories. I know you're having difficulty with with how I laid it out. So I'm trying to make it easier for you and answer questions. Then it came to, well, suppose also we actually said, well, if we look at it and said, well, if you want to get up to a 0.9 FAR, Mr. Developer, without counting that garage that wasn't counted historically, then in that case, you should start to, then you're going to have to provide some affordable units. And we suggested our percent. I think Mr. Ferrari's is amenable to increasing that number. Well, maybe it should be 15%, maybe it could be 20%. It's something to talk about with you, to increase it. We appreciate that. We appreciate, again, working with you on this, as you said you wanted to do with us. And I think there are 2 areas that are important. Number 1 is for you to feel that we've provided sufficient affordable housing as part of the overall mix of what we need to accomplish to make it economically balanced. And number 2 is, Mr. Wells, we all agree with your comments on the, maybe we just tried it. We kind of went too far, to be honest with you, on the idea of not bringing the energy standards up to current code and making it, an effort there. So we withdraw the provision there.
Mr. Tessie,
that we would be
Mr.
exempt
Tessie,
yes.
Mr. Tessie, Yeski has a question for you.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, let's recap. You could just convert that into a market-based unit, whatever the costs are, but you're leaving a large parking space fallow. And if you try to convert that, you run into FAR questions, right? Is that what I understood?
Very good. Yeah.
Number 2, if you wanted to do a 6110, there are incentives there. I think they go up to 0.75, Patrick. I haven't looked at the code recently.
0.75.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether that runs into an FAR problem or not. But straight up 6110, my question was, did anybody run the numbers to say, we'll just do a 6110, which, by the way, I understand it's not affordable under the state definition, but it's a product that Greenwich, it's a Greenwich regulation, likes. We haven't had many of them. And given the site here, the location of the site, it just seems to me to see somewhat attractive. So I don't know whether you actually ran those numbers or not, because it sounds like you're jumping to a third option, which let's call it the 0.9 option, where you're trying to provide affordable, I get it, and get out, not actually build the units, well, build a few, but give a payment in lieu, which doesn't turn out to be a huge amount of money. So I guess I was just trying to understand the spectrum I think there is a big market demand for not only affordable, but 6110. Patrick, I asked you if there was a backlog or something. Is there any way to prove that there is a large unmet demand for 6110? Did we ever find anything?
I don't have the rough numbers. It was just been it's been a long day, short amount.
Okay, no problem. I'm just assuming there is. I understand the market. And, you know, the last numbers I looked at, the overall market in Greenwich is in the mid-teens in terms of vacancies, although that might have changed, although I think it's probably getting worse. Retail, I think, is getting a little bit, but this makes a lot of sense to take a look at something that is not in the core Greenwich. It's out in left field to some extent. I worked in that project for 3 years when it was first built. And you know, it was built in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't remember when it was actually built, but it was good at the time, but may not fit the office market now. So I don't know. I just was trying to get a feeling whether all the options were looked at. You jumped to one that we're looking at, which I understand is the purpose of this hearing. I was just trying to back up and understand if there's other options at this point, particularly as you get into now this is discussion of fee and lieu, who gets it, you know, when they get it, that kind of thing, which tends to get a little bit messy. So I appreciate it. Did you ever run a straight up 6110 analysis?
Well, you have to remember, those are very good questions, every one of them. And the point here is, the answer is yes, in this sense. But let's just break it down. The core, as I said earlier, the core building itself, which is the bulk, it's that square footage of the existing building, could be converted as of right with not using 6110.
A straight up market thing. Got it.
Straight up market thing. So
Right.
then you look at, then there are two other components of the regulation of the project, right? One is the conversion of the garage. Okay, now you could say under 6110, you convert the garage, so you're coming in, and it's not unlike down at the J Lofts. We went back once or twice, I can't remember, Patrick, with expansion. And we increased the number of affordable units when we did the expansion. So too, you could turn around and look at it and say, okay, the garage is so many square feet. You want to put so many units in there. So for your exemption, whatever you want to call it, exemption or you're increasing, you know, FAR cap, you should adhere to the formulation under 6110. Which could be, by the way, it could be either under the 6110, it could either be
20%.
It could be 15, it could be a low, depending on the number of units. It starts out at 50.
Yeah, it depends on the number of units. Above 25, how many units? It's like the split
Well,
is
in
like
that
25.
particular section, Kevin would have to, off the top of my head, I'm guessing it may be about 10 or so, but would have that answer. But let's just say it's 10 and say it's 20%. Okay, say that could be 2. I'm just saying. Here you're saying, well, no, we want a quid pro quo. Then it's not really an incentive anymore. But what's the incentive? The incentive is we'll give you a higher FAR. So if you took our components and said, okay, we're not comfortable giving you free FAR in the basement and that ground floor, that's something to talk about. And that comes with a string attached, the string being affordable or being below market units, wherever the mix is. That's one way you can look at it. It's a variation of what I said earlier of that now we have the third component. And as I said earlier, with the third component, okay, we propose 10%. You think it should be more. That's something I can take back to Mr. Ferrari. And that was to add the addition that Mr. Molnar's been able to address in adding an additional floor. That gets us.
Rather than go on around this bush.
Well, I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying. The answer is
I would love to see
of the two.
I would love to see the pros and cons of 3 or 4 of these spectrum. The one you're suggesting might be the best from the town standpoint, but I haven't seen it laid out. And maybe that's not appropriate in this application, but given what we talk about in terms of affordable housing, I think it would be. But if no one else agrees, so be it. I'd rather not just.
I think your comments are productive because you're getting it on the table. Okay, what's the fair quid pro quo for the project you want to build? Is it too much? Is it right on? Does it have to be tweaked? That's why we're here talking about it now. right?
Okay, so what about the rest of the commission? Comments, input? Oh, or Mr. Yeski, would you like to wrap up exactly what you want to see? Just
Yeah, I would love
summarize
to
it.
see, let's call it three options. The one that's being presented, what are the pros and cons for the town? We're not supposed to look at the economics, but the economics are their business, but the pros and cons are ours. That'd be one. Number two, what about just a straight up either 6110 or 830G? No payment in lieu, just what it would, and then a market. Now, again, it's pros and cons from the town standpoint. We're not supposed to be looking at the economics as dearly as I would love to, because that's what's really driving all this at this point in time. And, a couple different options. Here's the pros and cons, and this gives the commission a little bit of education on what some of these are. And if one of the con is, hey, it's I'll just pick the market. The market is probably the least attractive because it costs a lot to develop and we can't get enough units because it exceeds the FAR. So be it. That kind of a con, so to speak. And go down the road, 6110, 830G, or what we're proposing, which is some kind of a hybrid using 106 and 6110 language. Because when I read this application, I thought I was reading a 6110 application. So I've got to back up. But it kind of like, here's pros and cons. Because I think the town is very interested in doing something. And where the payment goes is one option over there. But I'd like to make it cleaner in the analysis. I don't know. Is that clarifying what I have in mind?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, on where the payment goes.
It's a
That's
technicality.
not an issue.
It's
That is
important.
not an issue. You don't have to waste any more time on that. That will go to the trust fund.
Okay, so that's what Mr. Yeski wants. Mr. Well, is that it, Mr. Yeski?
That's it.
Okay, so Mr. Wells?
Yeah, just general comments. It looks like you're going to end up, positive things. Yeah, converting above ground garage space into residential sounds like a winner. Better use of that space. I guess one issue I have with this application or proposal is we're going to have 46 market unit or 46 total units and only 2 moderate income. But we're going to be giving a significant amount of incentives in terms of FAR. So that's only like 5%. So, we'll be underwater in terms of the 10% 8-30G. So I think there's a deal to be done here. I think we'll be supportive of this conversion idea, but the devil's going to be in the details. And my sort of bottom line is there's not enough MID. I don't think we should be giving incentives to create market units. I think our current regulations in the GBO are fine. So if you want incentives, you're going to need to do more on, either, affordable housing units or moderate income dwelling units.
And Mr. Wells, that's exactly why I would like to see, a couple options presented. Because if you just do a straight up 110, you're going to get a lot more than 2 units.
Again,
Yeah,
I have
that's
to
right.
emphasize one point. I've said it twice. I've stated three's a charm, perhaps. The conversion, those units that are within the existing building FAR cannot come with a requirement
We know that.
for affordable units because there's no requirement. You can do that.
Got
as
it. We got it.
So what we're
So-
looking at is the number of units we're creating right through. I just want to make sure we're on the same page, everybody. I know you are.
Yeah, well, is the right number, you're creating 20 units from the garage space? Because it's 10% of 20 is 2, and you're ending up with MID. Are you ending up with?
Plus the extra floor. Don't forget they're adding the
Correct,
extra
extra
floor.
floor. So we're going to look at those elements, talk to Mr. Ferreri about where he's comfortable with a
Okay.
modification.
Okay.
Why are
So-
you getting the extra floor?
Well, they want to add an extra story. They want to go to add a full extra story to add units there.
So
Before
what does
he
the town
answers,
get out of that?
so before he answers that question, the message back, I think, to Mr. Ferrari is what I'm hearing Mr. Wells and Mr. Yeski say, and I heard the commission say yesterday, is the balance has not been struck in our minds between number of units, number of below market, amount of the below market, and the FAR incentive. If I could put words in people's mouths, it is rich on your side of the balance. I think that's how it's being perceived. It is heavily favoring the developer with less favoring towards the town, and we'd like to see you move closer. Mr. Yeski?
I have one other question, Mr. Tessie.
Yes.
I agree. I've been over to the site. This building's a little bit unique, but that vacancy is probably scattered through all those buildings, right? And is there a plan that this would be stop one in doing this sort of thing, and you'd like to take a look?
Some of those buildings are in you. Well, go ahead.
No,
Well, first of all, no, the answer is some of the, I think there may be other, the floor area vacancies are scattered throughout the complex. Not to say people can't be moved perhaps, but the park set, because this is a separate parcel, actually, building
yeah,
eight.
yeah, I
The
remember that
park
from.
probably has, in a ballpark, in terms of floor area rights, plus or minus 100,000. It's a 0.5 FAR. And I think we have about 100,000 square feet or so of floor area that could be built.
All right.
Without going over 0.5.
Let me, just in the purposes
Now-
to the goal of advancing the conversation, I'd like to get back to Mr. Wells's question of why are you doing the top stories?
The top story is being done, well, functionally, because the building can take another story. That's always important. The economics to do that, I mean, you have to put some additional, support in the building, but it can be done. 4 stories for the building at that location seemed appropriate. We were setting back that 4th story. We think at that location, it will not be intrusive. The building set back. And it gets in that 4th story was going to come with some affordable units. That to us meant something. There was an incentive there, if you will, to allow it. One issue we do have, just to get on the table, is we're about, I think we said 50 feet. Because of the way the property is currently graded, we would want to change it, but we would want the commission to have the flexibility to allow, I think in that case, we're almost at 49 feet. That did come up in a discussion, or maybe it was the staff report. Can't remember, but
It says 50 in the staff report.
I know that was just the top. I'm saying technically it's 48 and a half.
Okay.
If we didn't have to, play around with grade plane walls and things like that.
Mr. Wells?
Yeah, I just, thank you, Mr. Tessie. Just 2 requests that we get back and 1 comment, and that is to Mr. Yeski's point, when you come back with the calculations, would love to see your proposed project under current GBO zoning rules. So, and give us the real FAR. Don't pull out, the garage. Just give us what it actually is. Give us the real FAR, ratio. So we can compare it against other buildings. That's 1 point. And then the second point is, I'm really concerned this is turning into spot zoning. You're asking for things that are specific to this site, and you're asking us to approve it for the whole GBO. So particularly when you talk about, well, in this location, setback would be nice on the top floor. People wouldn't see it. That sounds a lot like spot zoning to me.
So I think
First
one
of all, wait, hold on. Let me answer that.
Sure.
This is a provision in the regulations we're proposing for section 6106. Number 1. Number 2 is we came to you in last summer or fall, whenever it was. Time flies, as we all know. And we talked about the idea of incentivization. Glad I got that word out, for the conversion of a office building to residential. So it's something that the state recognizes also as something that should be done, you know, with the various bills that are before the legislature. And they're all of this type of nature. This isn't unique to our building. Different buildings have parking garages on that ground floor in a GBO zone. And so, number one. Number two is, so we took it and said, okay, well, if it's already built and you're not increasing bulk, why shouldn't you be able to fill it in with the conversion to residential? Your traffic numbers are going to be less. It helps support the ability to make that economically, to make the conversion, keeps the building viable. It adds to the tax roll, if you will, or potentially does, or protects the tax roll. You know, these office buildings is quite interesting because, like all commercial buildings, their taxes are a function of really what their operating income looks like. Every year, I think we all know, the owners have to fill out returns and submit them to the assessor's office, showing what the economics were the previous year. So when there's zeros, that gives people the ability to go in and argue that they have issues. So it's supposed to be a win-win-win for everybody here.
Okay.
From
So let's just
adaptive
go back.
reuse to getting some affordable units if people want to add on.
Okay, so let's just go back to Mr. Wells's question, which Mr. McRae, something Mr. McRae said yesterday as well. Mr. Wells wanted the actual FAR you're being proposed. Mr. McRae was interested in seeing real floor plans and where the units are going to be, and he mentioned that at the briefing.
Yes.
Since you touched on the topic of the state law, there was one bill, SB 416 last year, which passed the Senate and didn't pass the House. This year, there are more bills. And I've been trying to find out, since we got this, what's the likelihood of their coming through, and we'll figure it out with staff. I would suggest as one option that you consider that if the state law passes, our regulations will have to adhere to the state law. That's how it's being written. That's how the bill is currently drafted. Now, as currently drafted, the bill says if you keep the existing shell, you are not required to address any nonconformity, but it assumes that you are not expanding your FAR. It assumes no additional growth, and it has no mandate for affordability, which is where Mr. Yeski was going. This is one of the options that he wants to see. What would you do if you did that? What would it look like? In fact, that may be the controlling factor. We won't know until the 4th of June, but that may end up being the controlling factor. Just to think about that, because all the bills are pretty closely aligned. The other thing that y'all should look into is there are 2 bills that would give Mr. Ferrari a tax credit for the conversion from, that would require the Department of Housing to give him a tax credit for the conversion of office to housing. So it would be good to keep, I've got the numbers of those. So, but it would be good to keep tabs on those because those change your economics. So I'm just throwing that in, that we might be well advised not to draft a regulation that will become inconsistent with state statutes in 2 months. We've got Yeski and Arns. What else? Mr. McRae, Mr. Lowe?
I'd like to respond to that, however. I really want to
Okay.
respond to that.
All right.
Mr. Ferrari's had that building vacant, a long time. I am.
3 years is what's in your analysis somewhere.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So everybody's best served by moving this along. The state statutes that have to do with getting an as of right, pretty much conversion, and it stays within the 4 corners of what the building is. That's out the window because we have to do more than that here to justify the conversion. I believe that the upgrades are very important. There's another upgrade, that was mentioned, engineering. Although we're not doing more, I could see that we would work to basically upgrade the ancient.
Mr. Tessie, let me just repeat. that there's
So-
also the tax credit bill. and
I
the tax-
understand that.
yeah,
If it happens,
so-
that's great.
So
Okay,
then
that-
that
that's
changes
all
your
if-
economics and you might be able to stay within the building shell.
I
So
know, but
I
waiting
didn't
for
read the
that,
tax credit bill. I need to go back and look at it. You guys probably aren't, and Dennis, you probably know more about that. So I will send it to you guys in the hope that
we,
you'll read
we
it.
would like to move this forward because, you know, that's all political. That's why nothing, you know, sometimes things don't get done, whatever it is.
Okay.
I just
All
want to
right.
stay within the four corners of your regulations. If the state passes certain regulations and you need to adapt, you adapt. But right now, we started with you, and there's something else that's very important here on the deed in lieu. When the subject came up last fall when we were discussing this, it was pointed out that when we talked about deed in lieu, that the commission, and that's why it's in this regulation, would be, everybody can, I say the commission, certain members of the commission seem to feel that if it is a condominium project as opposed to a rental, you would be more inclined or looked on with more favor the payment in lieu.
I have to listen to the tape because
So,
I don't
no,
remember us
those who
saying
said
that.
it, said it. But that is understandable because I represent, as you know, number of projects, some rental, some condominiumized, but that was brought up. But it's also important internally here. So we believe we could have a comfortable deed in lieu payment amount worked out with you. We think it's, you know, it is appropriate for a lot of reasons, but also it helps get the money out to play. Mary made one comment coming from a trust company, it wasn't her, she was reading it, which is that feeling that the money couldn't be put to, the benefit of the funds go allocated to construction of the affordable unit are to happen sooner if the
Right.
developer's building the units rather than if the money
Yes.
is given to the trust fund. I don't believe that at all. That's why I'm saying get it to those who could utilize the money and quickly get it done, because when you're talking
Actually,
about these
I know-
conversions, you're
I know
talking about
Mr.
years before they're gonna come online.
I know,
Anyway, I want to make that
Mr.
point.
Tessie,
That's my
thank
opinion.
you. Thank you for that opinion. Now, Mr. Wells had asked you again, under your proposal, take the area that you are not wanting to be counted in FAR, the garage, include the area of the additional top floor and come up with the total FAR number. Floor plans
will.
per Nick's request, that was what they were
Yeah,
looking
those-
for.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody
did-
else have questions that they wanna? and
Yeah, have we removed the getting rid of the energy narrative? Is that?
Yes, we took that
I
out.
said I formally
He
withdrew.
said it was a
Thank you.
mistake. He
It
said it
was-
was a mistake. He agreed with Mr. McRae, who, if you're taking the building down to its
It
shell.
was
Okay.
Okay,
unbalanced.
no more need to
Okay.
discuss it.
No more need to discuss. Anybody else have comments? All right. The issue that I have heard from the Housing Authority is that until that they are currently unable to just go out and build, or they would have started Vinci. They are finishing Armstrong. They are queuing up, and they have not yet started Vinci, which we approved. Nick, do you remember? It's been a good year since we
Oh,
approved
more
Vinci.
than that. I would say 2.
Well,
So-
it takes a while. to get the
We
money in
thank
place.
you for the
Okay.
comment, but it is not clear to us, and we've discussed this with the Department of Housing, actually reached out to us and said, could you guys move faster? Well, they've got a
Oh.
queue of projects they're working on, and that's the capacity they have. So they're doing a great job. Sam and Tony are doing a fabulous job with their projects, but we can't assume that they're going to work 24/7. Mr. Lowe, Ms. Jones,
I've got nothing to add, other than
Okay,
what's been
Mr.
said at this
McRae.
time.
I'm good at the moment. Thank you.
okey
I
doke.
also am good.
Okay, I think
So-
we've given you the feedback. It looks rich for him, but I think you're willing to do more in terms of the number, do more in the price, I share the reluctance at this point on the fee, but I'm open to it. I have some hesitation, but I want to keep hearing about it. The fee, the number of units, and what you're doing in terms of total FAR. Mr. Yeski.
If we're done with those, I have a sidebar question to ask Mr. Tessie.
Sure.
Mr. Tessie, are you
Pour
still
hot water
planning?
on him if you rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, this is yes or no. The building we've already approved off of Putnam, are you still planning to build it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be much activity there.
Well, first it's taken a long time to get the road approved from the state. So that had to happen. They laid it out. Mr. Ferrari, I think we have the building permit and, or close darn to it. Kevin can answer that. And, I think it comes down to getting close. Mr. Ferrari can answer it better, but I think he was trying to monitoring the court. The costs of construction were ridiculous 2 years ago, thanks to COVID and other factors. They really skyrocketed. And of course, interest rates went up too. So that's the 1-2 punch. But they're both, well, I thought interest rates were coming down until the latest federal, and I'll leave it at that stuff.
Okay, no, just curious.
But basically, he's talking to his construction lenders and trying to do what everybody does, get the best
Okay.
price and all in order.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So you're gonna go talk to your client about how they can improve
What I-
this, and
what
you're
I'd
gonna
like-
give us additional data. And
What I'd like
yes,
to
go ahead.
do is we're going to talk internally and then meet up with Mr. LaRoe if he's okay, if he's okay with that, and Pat and Tracy, and liaise with you a little bit through them, and then hopefully, which I think we will all find a good ground for everybody and a good template here, and then be back. I guess given how comprehensive this conversation is, I had indicated to Mr. LaRoe that we did want to make the site plan special permit presentation, but there's really no reason to do it. So we will think of me fondly for saying that.
Okay, that would be great. You don't have to give us the extension now, but let's see how we do. It's a must open by 5:15. I don't know if you can come back to us from Mr. Ferrari before then. Definitely without having floor plans, it's tough anyway, but
Yeah, I'm not understanding the floor plans, but we'll try to get some
okay,
clarity.
so yes, that would be great if we could postpone opening the site plan and special permit. Thank you.
Thank you all for the time, and
Hold on just a second. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this application for a text amendment in order to accommodate an office conversion at Building 8 at 18 Valley Drive in Greenwich Office Park? No. Okay, so we will continue this application. You'll return when you've got something, and we will move on to the next application then, which is also you.
Yes,
Okay,
it is me.
all righty. Welcome back, Mary. Our next application is Pickwick Properties LLC for a final site plan and special permit to modify the previous conditions of approval for a restaurant on the southern ground floor space at Building 3 in Pickwick Plaza. There's a typo in the application. It says 220 seats. It's actually 210 from
Yeah,
what we.
210.
Right,
Yes.
so there was a typo in that, it's just in the
My fault.
notice. We checked and everything else is correct.
Okay.
And with that, Mr. Tessie, you may proceed. I'm going to be listening, but I just got to walk away for 2 seconds because I got somebody who's yipping.
Okay. Well, good evening again. Mr. Chartuni, my client, I think a number of you, maybe all of you have met him. I believe will join us. If you can look out for him, Pat, he may not be here right away, but
I'm keeping an eye.
He's not here at this time.
yeah, I know. He wanted me to ping him and I did it a little late. But thank you. Again, John Tessie for the record, representing the applicant. I listened to the staff briefing yesterday and your commentary, and I think there's some clarifications we need to make to help you all. The concept of the valet was certainly introduced by myself, my client, to address concerns that some commission members, if not all, had to the parking situation in Pickwick Park, Pickwick Plaza, Pickwick Plaza. And in terms of people coming in off of East Putnam Avenue, and then winding their way down to level B, where the valet then would be necessary, with the idea of the patrons being able to then access, I gotta stop watching Margarita, access building 3 elevator. And we kind of got caught up on that, and we spoke to the proposed operator. Everybody was a bit concerned about the cost and did research it, but felt they may be able to control it a bit. When they, literally they, meaning both Mr. Chartuni and the restaurateur, started to dig down deeper in terms of the commitment they needed to make to valet under the conditions of the approval, to properly cover the valet situation to level B, was going to require more personnel than they had anticipated over a greater time. And I know you all talked about it, and I think it was Mr. Macri who did some analysis. But Mr. Chartuni went out and obtained the pricing from valet operators. And, alarm bells went off between him and the tenant in terms of the expenses. And we were trying to come up with creative solutions here. And it's actually Mr. Chartuni who then did figure out that he could install a new door at the level A level that would allow for direct access to the building, what we call building 3, courtyard area, direct access from level A. Yes, it would go through an area that is partially, that is landscape, goes to a landscape area. There's a wall there too. That would all have to be addressed. But Mr. Chartuni, here he is. He's on the, he showed up, he appeared. He's on mute at the moment, but he can better explain it because he studied that whole access issue and felt there could be a sign on inside the building at level A, that would be the entrance way to the restaurant, which would be totally ADA compliant.
If I could, I'm sorry, Mr. Mr. Tessie, but we've got two sets of hands up for people who want to stop and ask you questions right now. Mr. McRae and then Ms. Jenkins.
Mr. Tessie, so in the decision letter, it states that actually provide 2 parking valets during lunch for the first 6 months of operation, and then review with staff at the end of the period to see if it's working. Item 7 says 1 parking valet during dinner service for the first year of operation. So $300,000, as you are stating in the briefing information, pays for what?
Mr.
3 parking
Chartoni
valets?
can speak directly to that. He's on.
Okay, so that's the first question I have.
Well,
The second question is I want to make sure that I clearly understand this, is that we're going to be going down to level A,
Right.
dig out and breach a retaining wall through the courtyard to provide an exit out of the garage to the courtyard, outside the building around to the front door, which is on Greenwich Avenue. That's the actual pathway now that's being proposed with this modification. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we went from not really great to slightly not really great, because we don't have to go down 1 level, but we still have to actually exit out of the garage, get into the garage, then exit the garage to get to the site. The first time it actually was going down 2 levels and up an elevator that leads us to the back of the building.
You're going to go down to level A. There will be this has to be, you have to understand this too. There will be an employee on site at the gate, the entranceway into the garage.
Stop right there. I have a question. That employee that's at the gate, is there always during all hours that the restaurant is open?
Absolutely.
Okay, how does that equate with $300,000 for valet parking?
That's
It would
another
seem to me,
question.
that actually having somebody at the gate, which is required because this is where we're going to be parking,
Right.
could be, maybe it's $100,000, but there's a person there every hour the restaurant is open. So we're kind of splitting a little bit of hairs here, and I'm still uncomfortable with how this is working. We're trying to make this thing better, but it's not really getting anywhere because there's not a lot of traction. I got to dig a hole and put a door in. I still have a guy at the front door, at the gate. Did I have the guy at the gate the first time around?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
It's a court factor, but he was willing to.
So is it now 300,000 is for 4 guys? Now it's 100,000 because I only have 1 guy. Does that work? Is that how it works?
Mr. Chartuni's been
Mr.
raising his
Chartuni
hand.
would
He'd
like to
speak.
answer you, Mr. McRae. Go ahead, Mr. Chartuni, if you want to
Yeah.
answer Mr. McRae.
We already have a person at the gate all day long until 7 and all Saturday. So it just means adding a person in the evening hours and on Sunday. And we've estimated what that would cost it more like $60,000 to $70,000 as opposed to $300,000.
Right, Mr. Chartuni. So that would
So
actually,
why
that
does
person
it-
would be there when again?
I'm sorry.
They're there all day long
Yeah, we have a
during the
person.
weekdays.
Have a person manning the gate from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening every day except Sunday.
Okay.
So the additional cost would be extending from 7 to 11, say, in the evenings during the week and on Sunday from when the restaurant is open. And that we estimate to be somewhere around the 60 to 70,000 as opposed to 300,000. That is tolerable, that's acceptable in comparison with what the rent for that restaurant would be. The 300,000, I mean, we can give you, if you want, we have 2 proposals from 2 different park companies. One is the one who operates the garage currently, called ProPark, and the other one is even more expensive. So ProPark, who already has staff, and the additional cost of adding people during the day, even in the evening, because during the day we would need at least 2 people for the valet to park because there's more traffic from the tenants. In the evening, it's easier, so you only need one to give access to people to come in. But there's also concern with that a security issue. The security being that you're letting people into the building who could go not just to the restaurant, but roam everywhere else. Unless we put more security guards at that level, which would make it even more cost prohibitive. So we thought this solution, when there is hardly any parking anywhere, including at town hall, by the way, when I came to meet with Pat.
The
And
parking situation is tough in town. This is why you all offered this. Mr. McRae, do you have a follow-up?
No, I just want to make sure I've got that correct. So then there would be somebody at the gate from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday.
And the garage will always be accessible to any member, anybody who wants to come in? I
Any
think that's what you're
any
asking.
patron to the restaurant, yes.
Yes, and so the patrons, like in most places, would
No,
have
we're just asking you if you would, just for the record, because we transcribe this and tape it. The garage, as you are proposing it, you intend to have the garage open the entire time that the restaurant is open. I won't get to that booth and be told that the garage closes at 7 p.m.
No, it will not close at 7 p.m. It might close at 11 p.m. Yeah.
Well, when the restaurant closes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just to clarify that. Okay, Mr. McRae?
I think I'm good at the moment, please. Thank you.
Madam Jenkins?
Yes, my question relates a little bit to parking, and that is the B level. A level comes out into the courtyard through the new retaining wall exit. The B level still uses the elevator in the building and comes up into the lobby of building 3 and comes out into the courtyard? Is that what happens?
No, we're just going to have one exit from the garage, which is at A level, but A level can accommodate, I don't know, 60, 70, 80.
76, and you have 150 in your restaurant.
No more handicap, so there's 74 plus 2 handicap there.
Right, so,
but
so
you-
only
again, that's
B
leaving-
level is gonna be open. A level is not gonna be open anymore at all, you're saying now? You've
No, you got
changed
it
this
backwards.
Got it backwards, yeah.
backwards, okay.
No, I'm sorry. B level would always be open. There'd be tons of space to park. But for people to be able to exit the building, they would have to walk up to A level and go through that door. And the whole point is to avoid having somebody at the elevators allowing
got it.
people in to go roam inside the building.
There are enough parking spaces in level A to support the restaurant.
And,
Uh,
but there is an
okay.
elevator from level A to level B, right? You can't
No.
expect people to, so people who park on level B are going to have to walk in a stairway to get to ground level to go outside to get to the restaurant. Am I right?
We're not envisioning people needing to or wanting, go ahead, Nabil.
There is no reason why people should go park on level B, because level A can accommodate 70 or 80 cars.
But you have 150 seats in the restaurant. So
If you do the math,
unless
150
everybody's-
Okay,
Under-
but it's
Under the, hold on, under the building zone regulations,
I don't
150
assume that every patron
restaurant would need.
will car. Every 2 people come in one car.
Wait,
there's-
wait,
I'm
stop.
I think it's important to note this, okay. Under the
Okay,
building
stop,
zone
stop.
regulations.
Mr. Tessie and Mr. Chartuni, you cannot both speak at the same time because we can't understand either one of you and you're talking over each other. We have been, Mr. Tessie is being very good and is, okay, so now Mr. Tessie is going to speak that the zoning regulations require
For
one
100
space for every 3 seats in a restaurant. This restaurant has 210 of maximum approved, which means it would require 70 parking spaces.
Right.
So all of the restaurant related parking will be on A level only.
And
Is that-
nobody else would use A level during the day?
During the day, there are, I think it's about 20 spaces that are reserved. So you're going to have 50 during the day, but we expect during the day, that's during the business day, that there's going to be less parking requirements for the day, for the restaurant, because so many people are going to be walking there from who are on the avenue or are going to be in any of the office buildings. There are like 3,000 employees of these office buildings in the area. So we don't envision.
Okay, before we move on,
I'm sorry.
let Mary finish.
Yeah. Again, my concern is you're saying you only required 70 parking spaces. The restaurant is all going to go to level A. But if they go to level A and there's not a parking space available, those people are going to have to find parking somewhere else. And in fact, I believe the application or at some point in the materials, it says, oh, and level B will be available after 5 p.m. So I'm
Correct.
going.
Yes, it says that. It says.
I'm sorry.
modif-
If I can finish, why don't I just finish asking my questions and then both of you can answer all of my questions. That's my parking concern. But my greater concern is when we did the site walk and when we first reviewed this before the decision letter, there were 2 entrances to the restaurant. And it was of considerable concern to me because it was great that people were using the elevator in the building. I understand the cost involved. They're going to use the elevator in the building, but they're going to come out indoors in the lobby, see the sign for the restaurant. You'll never see them on Greenwich Avenue because it's going to be internal to Pickwick Plaza. Now you have one entrance. Every patron, first of all, has to go into open air. There's not going to be any more staying in the building. So every single patron is going to have to walk into the weather and go to a door on Greenwich Avenue. And if it's convenient, that's going to be great. But I can tell you that if they go and it's not convenient, they are not going to use level A because they don't want to have to walk from whatever the parking level is that they're on to get to the front entrance. So my concern is 2 things. You originally had 2 entrances, one of which was very attractive and would keep people off Greenwich Avenue so they would be unlikely to park on Greenwich Avenue. And the other concern I have now is you have 1 or 2 guys in the booth, gentlemen, employees in the booth. All of your parking is coming through there. That person has to deal with the voucher, the explanation of what level to go on. It's going to potentially tie up the talking at the booth of each car that enters to use the restaurant because of all of the information that has to be provided at that point. And you're going to have backup on the post road. So again, my concern is that this is not the traffic flow, foot traffic and car traffic that we looked at when we reviewed it the first time. I'm done. Now I can hear answers. Thank you.
I only wanted to say to you, Mary, that you're correct, that during business days, the level B parking area will be restricted from restaurant patron use until 5 p.m. when it will then be available for restaurant patron use. Mr. Yeski, did you want to
No,
add on that? And then Mr. Lowe.
I think,
No, Yeski was first. He's been waiting for like 10 minutes. And then Lowe, you came in right after.
okay, that's fine.
Okay. Go ahead,
Well,
Mr. Yeski.
2 questions. Number 1, the 3-for-1 seating parking, does that include staff? Maybe that's our question. What, Patrick?
Just a parking requirement for a restaurant.
I don't believe that staff. I think staff is cooked into that one. Let me. I'm just looking through the
No,
regs.
there's a, yeah, I think it's 20% factor. That's the other beauty of Pickwick Park, by the way, when it comes to staff, which is that, as was indicated, that the staff can be accommodated in the parking garage. As we've explained many times, there are hundreds of available parking spaces.
Okay.
So they would park in B or some other space.
They would park down lower.
Yes.
And the thing that you want to eliminate is the valet that would be in the parking garage, right? That's not the person at the gate. That was never envisioned to be the gate person. It was a separate person that would take your car and valet park it.
Correct. The person at the gate is just going to hand people, people are going to get their tickets. In terms of parking, there's going to be signage right in front that indicates restaurant parking this level. So they're going to see it as soon as they drive in. I don't think the interaction is going to be any more than a few seconds.
Got it. And the last question I asked yesterday, and Patrick, I don't know whether it's in the ruling, but the address of the restaurant is what?
We
Is it
originally
West
had it.
Putnam or Greenwich Avenue?
They've changed it to Greenwich Avenue.
Yes.
They changed it back to Greenwich Avenue.
Yes, we asked it to be Putnam.
That was in your decision letter, I believe, or a comment. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Anything else, Mr. Yeski?
No, that doesn't make any sense, but we'll talk about it later.
Okay, so hold on to those thoughts, and then Mr. Lowe, and then Mr. LaRoe has an answer for the questions. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Perhaps to be a little repetitive, but from the beginning, one of the principal concerns about this proposal in all of its iterations is the imposition of traffic and congestion on and around Greenwich Avenue. That's been stated right from the very beginning, and it continues. This newly proposed solution seems to make it even more difficult for patrons, thereby threatening an appreciable influx of both cars and people on Greenwich Avenue. So the problem seems to thereby been exacerbated with this proposal. It was bad before for those reasons, meaning the concerns that we had about the traffic, foot traffic, vehicular traffic, has just seemingly gotten worse, if I understand this thing, this proposal. That was all.
Well, I believe, just to respond to you, I don't think it's gotten quantifiably better or worse. What we're going to be promoting, which was one of your requirements, is that parking garage would be available for free. That was the main thing. It's like, there are some people that don't like to give their cars to valet people anyway. No, whether it's because they don't want to tip them or they don't want, their very expensive automobiles to be driven around by valet people. So I think it's a wash at best and at worst here. The main thing is the free parking in the free parking in the garage, whether it's level A or level B. Level B, people get out and they have to wait for an elevator, take an elevator, go up. Level A, you park your car, you take your keys, you walk through an entrance, which is just literally 15, 20, 30, 40 feet away, out to the courtyard for a walk that, for the most part, is going to be probably less than if they didn't have the garage and people were finding a spot up and down Greenwich Avenue or into the public parking lot behind Greenwich Avenue. So this is much more convenient. It's more accessible and overall more secure. So that's our opinion, but that's based upon just logic in terms of my part. And I think the less level people have to drive down parking garage, actually, the more secure they feel. And you will have a person right at the gate right there. So as I said, at worst, I look at it as a wash. It may turn out to be a better plan, quite frankly, but I think it's not at all more detrimental.
Mr. Lowe, did you want to respond to that?
No, I stand by my statement.
Reasonable, mine's different.
Okay,
I accept that reasonable people can disagree.
Right.
All right. Mr. LaRoe, you had an answer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the language of the regulations is 3 seats, 1 parking space per 3 seated occupants, 1 space per 2 seated at a bar. And I bring that up because I believe there is a sushi or raw bar in this floor plan, and then there is an or statement which either limits at the lower number if the building code requires less than what the parking, if the parking is greater than the building code is the limiting factor. And then yes, it is 20% of that total is required for employees. So whatever that net sum is, if it was 75 or whatever the number was put out, you take 20% of that and add to it, and that's the required number.
What comes out, like I said, we're going to cover the parking for employees at other locations in the building, the lower levels. So.
All right.
Right.
Okay, so back to Mr. Yeski, Ms. Jenkins, anyone else have comments on? I'm just going to go over this. So they're eliminating the patron entrance through to the restaurant through the elevator lobby. Wait, I've got to go back to. So they are not going to have the 2 host stations anymore because there will be no entrance. They want to eliminate the valet. This is a little unclear because it's 2 parking valets during lunch is what we had asked for, and 1 during dinner, so that is 6 and 7. They want to eliminate all valet parking. And instead, what they are proposing is that the level A parking area will be available for lunch and dinner. And again, that involves going outside. Do you want me to stop, Mr. McRae, so you can comment?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I probably should have said this right at the beginning, but the more I'm looking at this application and what's in front of me, this is more like a pre-app than anything else because there's so much that's missing. I don't know if anybody got the same feeling,
Could you
but
say more? What do you mean by missing? What would you want to see
well,
added?
the parking count, the valet hours, how this is all really going to be tying together to do a real evaluation. Some of it's here, some of it's not. We actually have a change to the site plan. You're going to be actually digging out green space and putting in a new door. How does that work? Is it even possible? Those guys. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah, it isn't
details
just the
that
conditions. They're actually changing the site plan, and what their request is for a change of the conditions. But in fact, there is, because the patron entrance through the lobby is also being eliminated, which parking is going to be mainly used has changed. And the new entrance from level 1, or is that whatever, level A to the building
Level A.
3 courtyard? Okay, from Mr. Tessie had written it as level 1, but it's level A. To the building 3 courtyard is going to be created so that there's ADA. So there are changes. There was another thing that was, go ahead, Mr. McRae. What else do you want to see?
I think I said just starting with it, but it's the issue of is this a pre-app or not? But it's open. I think it's probably too late to really get into that. But I think actually, yeah, we haven't changed the site plan. We have how many spaces are here, how many spaces are there, who uses what during the day, not during the day, making sure that there's somebody at the gate the whole time. What is the change in the actual physical building and site? We talked about actually a lot about the first time around signage to get people into the garage and the locations and directions to get out of the garage. Those kind of things. So I think there's a lot of things that really need to be addressed. Where I think we're just kind of scratching the surface as we are right now.
Okay, and so you want to see a count of some kind?
I want to see a full count of how many spaces are available, A and B, during the day, at night. I want a schedule of how the person is manning the front gate in the hours of in comparison to the hours of the operation of the restaurant. It would seem to me actually if 7 a.m. to 11, that's a long time. And then, is the restaurant open to 11 o'clock or is the restaurant open to 10 o'clock? Because it would seem to me if it's open to 11, somebody's got to stick around to make sure the gate stays open so I can get my car out, right? What are the details and are the levels between parking lot A, garage A, and the courtyard the same? Or is there something else that's got to be done there to even that up? The retaining walls to hold back what's left over of the earth adjacent to the stair that's there. So a lot of little details that I think that really have to come through. And I think actually I would request that the applicant go back and work through these details to make sure this all works correctly before they come back and we all look at this again.
Mr. Wells?
Yeah, I mean, to Nick's point, I would love to see architectural drawings of how does it look from the garage? How does it look going out to the courtyard? What sort of path are you going? Are you going through a tunnel or are you actually going right outside down a nice path? I think for me anyway, architectural drawings would be helpful, even if they're preliminary, inside and out. Thank you.
Yeah, the fact, just to throw in things, we were adamant about the address not indicating Greenwich Avenue.
Right.
Because we saw that front door on Greenwich Avenue and we said, what the life that we live is people circling on Greenwich Avenue looking for parking. And that's what the huge traffic is on the avenue. You're anticipating that during the day you will get pedestrian traffic, but in the evening you are going to get people looking to park, and they will be circling, and they will circle the top and the top has gotten tight as well. And they will circle the top and come in the front door. And that was why we didn't want you to indicate
All
the
right.
Greenwich Avenue
That's-
address, and we had asked for that. Now,
That's fine.
in addition, the vouchers, not clear to me why you have to get a validation that has to be checked and a voucher if there isn't something simpler, unautomated. It was a suggestion from staff, if you could consider something automated so that you don't have the cost. As to the valet, what could you do that's automated or signage that will help people find their way to the parking? As to Mary Jenkins' point, frankly, I love the idea of coming out of the elevator lobby and going straight into the restaurant. I thought that was great because that is so handy for somebody who's going out, has an inconvenience to walking. It's just so great. You go boom right in. Don't have to look for parking. It's a great business booster. Can you do that without incurring your valet cost? Your $300,000 number parsed to me to be about $120, $140 an hour, something like that for one valet, which was surprising. But can you automate? Can you make it simple for people? Why do you have to have a voucher system? Can you find a different way? What we're trying to do, what Mr. Tessie responded to, was we don't want people circling, and we don't want the onslaught of traffic arriving to your restaurant when it opens and not finding a place to go. We're wishing you success, but we live this story all the time on the avenue. So we do know, and I, listening to the tapes during the original application, we said that lack of awareness or access to on-site parking for patrons would lead to searching for limited on-street parking, creating an unnecessary increases in traffic congestion, and reduce available public parking for others. So I would, Mr. Tessie, what I'm going to say to you is I give you a couple of options. One, rethink it, which is what the commission is asking for. But if you would like us to decide to close this and decide it, we are happy to do that as well.
Well, we wouldn't be here if Mr. Chartuni and his potential restaurateur didn't find the economics untenable. Didn't find it.
Yeah, he wants to make his economics better.
The economics just don't work. So we're sorry we are sorry, both for you and ourselves, that we wasted all that time on the valet idea. It may have been my stupid idea, but
it was suggested to us by you.
I understand that. I'm saying that.
It's just, that's fine, but can you come up with something else, or would you like us to reject, or accept? We can vote on these.
Well, the question is for us to decide. First of all, let me answer all of your points.
Thank you.
Insofar as a voucher system, that's very common in the restaurant industry.
I'm trying to save time and money for you.
I'm trying to explain something. The restaurateur is going to absorb that cost. Okay, so it's a business decision between Mr. Chartuni and the restaurateur. The reason why you ask people to do that is because there are so many other restaurants in the area, and in parking is at a premium in that corner. There aren't enough. There's probably not even a tenth of parking spaces available for all the restaurants in that area during the evening. So the point that we could add, you can't add to a problem if you can't make a problem worse if the problem itself is basically chronic. There's no way we come in, they came in, so they're going to take all our patients are going to come at 4 o'clock to take the spaces. But putting that aside, the point I'm making, the reason why you do that is because the operator of a parking garage wants to make sure that that garage is not overused by others who come in. And if
I'm
you-
just
they pay
saying,
upfront,
I'm just
so I'm
suggesting,
just
I
pointing that out there.
understand.
What I
I'm
do believe-
understanding that Mr. Chartuni doesn't want to have non-clients using his garage. I'm just saying, are there other options? Would you like to come back with some different proposals? Or would you and amend this application, or would you like us to decide this tonight? That's all I really
Here's the point.
asked.
Where I fully understand the comments, the constructive comments, if you will, having to do with having proper signage, which we worked on already. So it's a matter of changing some of the signage around. We've agreed to that. We've agreed that in a promotional material for the restaurant, that the parking, that the parking, free parking would be made part and parcel of all of the dissemination of information about the restaurant. So we've already agreed to that, those elements. They're already agreed to. So we're continuing those elements. The only difference we have here is the one that was explained for security reasons and economic reasons. The program would be to have this access at level A.
Okay, so
Where-
let's just
okay,
review
so-
what you're, that's
if-
not accurate, Mr. Tessie. Your modifications, eliminate modification 1, as there will no longer be a patron entrance to the restaurant through the elevator lobby. That is
I
a
understand
change
that.
you're making.
I just said that.
Eliminate modification number 6, no valet. Eliminate modification 7, no valet. The patron, level A parking now available, B will be restricted. A new entrance from level A. This is all the changes. All restaurant parking will be free, validated through the voucher system. We asked you if you can save money. I don't see how this is a modification that you're gonna install signage, but maybe you have a new signage proposal.
No, I said the signage requirements are already embedded. We're not asking.
Okay,
to
I'm
change
sorry,
that.
Mr. Tessie, you have this listed as a new modification that you're proposing in your letter.
I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm not saying eliminate all other modifications.
No,
Certain
Mr.
are getting
Tessie, let me
eliminated.
say it again.
I heard
The
what you said.
letter,
You don't
in the
have to-
letter you sent, you list the you list, hold on, let me open it, but you list the modifications and you list the things that are not changing as also being changes, which was a little confusing. I gather, so you have appropriate signage will be installed as a change. Okay, but you've already agreed to that. Mr. Yeski, go ahead.
No, you can continue. I just
No, that's
want
it.
to clarify
Go ahead.
the address. I'm hoping I heard it wrong. The address of the restaurant is East Putnam or Greenwich Avenue?
They're making it 1 to 3 Greenwich Avenue. We had originally wanted it as 3 Pickwick Plaza,
Right.
for the reason
So is
that
that a modification?
We don't
No,
have a
the-
problem with 3 Pickwick Plaza. I was
Okay,
thinking-
good.
We don't
Okay.
have a problem at all with 3 Pickwick.
Done,
Plaza.
done.
Good.
Trying to get
All
there.
right.
Thank you. What I'm trying to get at is simply this. I'm not going to repeat what I said. The bottom line is we're not changing anything other than the structure of the utilization of the parking within the parking garage. That'll be free parking on level A during the day, during the evening. People need to drive down to level B. I don't think it'll ever be necessary. They certainly can. Okay, but no, for security purposes, the preference by Mr. Chartuni and his tenants in the upper floors there is that remain a secure environment. So the question really is, with the answer or not, I don't know. Question is, to your question about do I want you to close it and decide it and vote against it? Or
no, I did not say that.
no, I said that, not you. Or rethink. And I'm saying, well, I like option C, not option A or B, which is that we keep this open and we come back with the site plan. And look, this should go to ARC. I don't know how you get it. You probably want ARC to look at it, but your team can decide. In other
I
words,
don't remember what we decided on that. Nick, do you? Because it's very little on the exterior except the signage, and I think we were gonna have
No,
that.
it's going to be the cut through of through the landscaping.
Oh, because you're changing the exterior now.
Yes.
No, we don't want ARC to see it because Nick is very uncomfortable. Nick, I'm putting words in your mouth.
No, I want to see it first because I
All
really
right,
want
Nick,
to
see
know.
it first. So let us
Does this
work
thing
on,
work?
let
And-
us work. Go ahead, Nick. I apologize.
Does this thing work? You know,
Yeah.
because
Sure,
as I said before, Mr. Tessie, I'm seeing a pre-app in front of me. You don't know for sure it's a great idea, but what happens when you dig a hole and actually find out there's a step between the floor of the floor of the garage and that courtyard, so on and so forth. So flesh that detail out. Bring it back to us so we can really see this. You may not even have to go to ARC because it'd be very, very plain and simple. We could decide it ourselves. Who knows? But
Now-
get it done.
That's what I
Also-
was referring to earlier. I was trying to look, there were a lot of constructive points, valid questions.
Okay, I
Questions
reiterate to you, Mr. Tassi,
Yes.
the elimination of direct access from the elevator lobby is a pretty significant concern. I personally would be okay with not having a valet, but I don't want to go outside and wander around Kingdom Come. I want to be able to drive into the garage. That would be me. Ms. Jenkins said the same thing. I don't know about the rest of the commission. Anybody disagree with that they liked? Everybody who was on the site visit liked, I believe, the direct access. Mr. Wells, you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to anywhere on, just to push the other side, if you're gonna go to anywhere on Greenwich Avenue, you're gonna park and you're gonna walk someplace. So going outside is not a big challenge for me anyway, but maybe I'm different. So I'm having it less important that you end up on the courtyard. That doesn't
right.
bother me as much.
But you're
that's
wandering
just-
around. It's the wandering around that's
Okay.
confusing. Madam Jenkins, go ahead.
Yeah,
That was the point she
and
made.
Just to follow up on Arn's comment, the problem is not wandering around outside. It's the fact that all of a sudden it is more difficult to get to the front, the sole entrance to the restaurant, and you have to go on Greenwich Avenue. So it's not that I really mind being outside. It was great when you could park your car with or without the valet that was offered by the applicant. With or without the valet, you get in an elevator in the garage and you get out of the elevator in the lobby and you know where the restaurant is. It was so direct, and that was such a, you'll excuse the expression, such a selling point during the site walk. And now all of a sudden, no, it's not that, and elevators in the parking garage. So the operational effect is putting everybody on Greenwich Avenue, whether they have to walk from somewhere else or walk from the garage. That second entrance that was going to be more convenient and make the parking more attractive is now gone.
Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, exactly. You're forcing people to go outside, wander from the rear of this restaurant around to the front. This is creating arguably a disincentive for people who are considering whether they really need to go into the garage or not.
Right. Ms. Jones?
Thank you. The point I was going to make is basically what Mrs. Jenkins and Mr. Lowe just made as well. So I agree with them.
Mr. Chartouni, you had your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. As long as you're not talking over Tessie, it's fine.
I would just want to say about the issue with the elevator. I think it's a major security issue to leave an elevator entrance open to anybody who drives into the garage under the pretense they're going to a restaurant and being able to wander throughout the building. I don't think if you were one of those tenants in the building staying until 7 o'clock at night, I'm not so sure you may want to encounter somebody coming through the elevator wandering around your floor unchecked. That's why we have.
You are able to lock access to the upper floors.
No.
Yes. All you have to do is lock the buttons.
No, but even on the ground floor, there are tenants on the same floor as where the entrance of the restaurant would be. But I don't see how we can lock access when people get into the elevator,
Well,
they can go up to where.
You work on it and you look at it. Madam Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is not something new. That security issue did not exist at the time of the site walk as well. I mean, that was one of the, I think, in fact, we may have asked that question, which is, I'm in the elevator now. I don't have to get off and see the restaurant. I can go upstairs and wander around. So again, with due respect, this isn't something that we changed. This existed
You
at the time.
told us that the day we did the site walk.
I'm not saying it's something you changed. It's something that we realized once we looked at it, and when the cost was so prohibitive, and we thought about all the other issues that came to roost, and we thought this is just not workable. I mean, I don't think we take that risk.
Again, Mr. Tessie has, I think, go ahead, Madam Jenkins. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, because these are operational issues that are coming up now that are affecting not only your economics, but our consideration of the operation of the property. I'm falling into the Nick camp where this begins to feel like a pre-app, and I need more information and the opportunity to analyze it. It's new. It's very new.
Because
Thank
you've changed the parameters in our minds. You have, so Mr. Tessie has minimized it and said, we're only changing a couple of things, but to us, you've changed critical variables that made this unacceptable proposal, because under the zoning regulations, the parking, not only do you have to have it, but people have to be able to get to it. So if you can find a solution where you don't need the valet, but people have simple access, we're happy to look at it. We didn't force you to have the valet. So look at other options, or I think Mr. Tessie said that's what you would prefer to do. We're happy to give you time to consider other options. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application at 3 Pickwick Plaza for modification to their approvals? Seeing no hands raised. So Mr. Tessie, we would leave this, we would continue this application?
Yes.
And
Great.
you'll come back with some new ideas. By the way, I know I'm nitpicking you, but on page 2 of your letter, you say add the following new modifications, and it's number 4 is the item, and you have items that are not new modifications in that A, B, C, D, E, F list. So you might, that's what I was saying to you. I'm not following this. So you're just saying we're still doing these things. They're not new modifications. I think you were just making the point. We're
I
still
was trying
doing
to
these
make a
things.
new.
Yeah, you're keeping, this is
list.
what we're keeping.
Right, an
So,
updated list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
okay.
understand now.
All right.
our
Okay, so we will see you both when you come back, but Mr. Chartuni, again, we're happy to accommodate you. We're happy to have this rest. We want to see you be successful and to have this space occupied, but we are concerned about the rest of the business owners on the avenue, the tightness for parking, and that it be a convenient thing for your patrons at this space to get in and out of your parking, so that it works for everybody else who's on the avenue, because otherwise you're going to put them out of business. And you don't want to do that, because the attraction of the avenue is that it's seen as a place to go.
Well, that part I can't agree with, but I understand your other concerns.
Good.
We can't put everybody out of business on the upper avenue, because the spaces there's just so many short spaces that it doesn't matter whether we come or not.
That idea of yours that worsening something incremental doesn't damage it is like the urban legend of the frog won't jump out of the boiling water. At some point, you got to turn off the heat and not cook the frog. Okay, you just have to. At some point, you can't say, oh, it's only 3 more trips and a little bit more traffic. At some point, you hit the tipping point and you do damage. So you're saying it's only a little bit farther. You don't know where the tipping point is.
What's a little bit farther?
You're saying it's only a little bit. It's a chronic situation, was your
Oh,
statement.
you have a chronic shortage. We know that.
Yeah, and you're saying, so you're not making it, we're not making it worse or something. Incorrect.
I'm saying that you said we're going to put everybody out of business.
All right, we're going
around circles anyway. I'm sorry. You're right.
Okay.
We're
will
going from
continue.
rabbit holes to leaping frogs. Can you put that behind us?
Yep, we're done. So
Thank
we're
you
going
for
to
bringing up
continue
the,
this
family
application.
fun.
we're going to continue this application. And we'll see you when we see
Thank
you. Okay,
Good point.
thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye. Okay, so quickly, I'd like to make a motion. Mr. Bazili, time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, goodbye.
Good night.
Good night. See you
Good
soon.
night.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All
Bye-bye.
right, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the February 4th, 2025 minutes. In so doing, I note that Mr. Wells was absent. Do I have a second? Mr. Lowe has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the March 25, 2025 minutes. In so doing, I note that Macri and Lowe were both absent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wells has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Nick, over to you.
Okay, let's see where we are. Delavan Avenue, right? 286 Delavan Avenue, application PLPZ 2025 089, final coastal site plan. Applicant is requesting approval for a coastal site plan and special permit to enclose vestibules and provide accessibility to all floors, and would further exceed 150,000 cubic feet on a 0.969 acre property in the R6 and COZ zones per section 6111 of the BZR and sections 22A 90 and 22A 96 of the Connecticut General Statute. As required, the property came before the commission as a pre-application at the 9/17/24 meeting. Public hearing under file number PLPZ 2024-351. The commission finds that zoning issue comments dated 4/3/25 indicating endorsement of the proposal. Excuse me. Conservation issue comments dated 4/3/25 indicating recommendations to the project. Sewer issued comments on 4/1/25 requesting the applicant submit a signed letter of acknowledgement as the receipt of their P&Z comments. DPW drainage issued comments on 4/3/25 indicating resubmittal prior to zoning permit. ARC issued comments 1/22/25 indicating electronic return to address outstanding issues. Greenwich Fire Department issued comments dated 3/31/25 requesting a plan of egress during construction phase of the project. The tree warden issued comments 4/4/25 with the recommendations on the proposed red maple tree. And wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire on 2/14/25 indicating no action required. Therefore, motion to approve the application noting the following. Per sewer division comment, the applicant has submitted a signed letter acknowledging sewer comments dated 4/3/25. Per Greenwich Fire Department comments, the applicant has submitted a 4-phase egress plan to be used during construction dated 4/22/25. And per the tree warden's comment, a watering and extended care should be schedule should be submitted with the final landscape plan. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or interdepartmental issues.
That's my cue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Jenkins has seconded. Madam Jenkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski?
Aye.
Mr. Macri?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
You're muted.
You. Peter?
Sorry, this button was not functioning properly. Aye. Sorry for the delay.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0, and we go to 731 Lake.
731 Lake Avenue, application PLPZ 2025-109 for final site plan special permit. Applicant is requesting approval for a site plan special permit for a new pool and pool equipment pad and fence on a 3.05 acre property at in the RA2 HO zone. As required, the property came before the commission as a pre-application at the 2/25/25 public hearing. The property is known as the Daniel Reynolds House and Applejack Farm. A historic overlay was granted to the property on 7/14/92 under final site plan 1555. And as required, the property, got that already, sorry. The commission finds that zoning board of appeals issued a variance of front yard setback at the 9/2024 meeting under file PLZE 2024-020. Conservation issued comments dated 4/15/25 indicating recommendations to the application. Zoning issued comments on 4/16/25 indicating no comment. HDC issued a certificate of appropriateness on 2/24/25. And the health department issued comments on 4/4/25 indicating no issues with the proposal. DPW drainage, the applicant has submitted a drainage exemption dated 10/8/24. And wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire on 6/6/24 indicating no action required. Therefore, motion to approve with the following comments. No construction access shall be from Lake Avenue. All construction vehicles to access the project location from the internal driveway north of the home. Per conservation comments, the applicant has provided a plan indicating stockpile and construction access. All remaining conditions of final site plan special permit number 3440 and 3441 dated 1/22/08 shall be continued. And all remaining conditions of final site plan number 1555 dated 07/14/92 shall be continued. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or interdepartmental issues.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wells has seconded. Mr. Yeski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Wells?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
Mr. McRae?
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0, and we are cooked.